when I just said right now that they run the most polished events, I think that we would all assume if they were pitching for a major, that Valve would likely give them a major. Now, let me tell you, they're not pitching for a major. That's why they don't have a major. So when you say Blast Major, that is great. They're like, yes, everybody thinks we should run the highest caliber event, but they're not pitching for a major. So you can't sit here and expect them to run a major and be like, oh my God, why did they give it to this company when they're currently not pitching for a major? So that right there, you guys need to understand that. You need to understand that. That is something that you all need to be able to get through your heads. And they also run smaller events than other TOs. They don't run 24-team events. They don't run 16-team events. They run 8-team events. It's much more manageable. You need to understand this.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets guaranteed.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parry Match, your esports teammate. Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Bitskins.com, the best skin marketplace.
The nice thing about Displate is they're super high quality and very easy to hang up. All you have to do is mount the magnet they provide you, then just stick the poster on the wall. Every art piece they offer is super collectible and looks great no matter where you place it in your house or room. The wonderful thing about Displate is they also look after the environment. Every poster someone buys, Displate will plant one tree. They've already planted over 14 million trees and they're still planting. So you're not just getting an awesome poster, you're also helping the environment.
HLTV Confirmed, episode 66. Welcome to my lovely little couch here for this evening. I am using an ironing board as a table, and we're going to be bringing you all the podcast goodness for another show. Now, let's get through the sponsors, the people who make this all possible from around the world. Xtrfy, you saw an advert from them right there. They actually have a new wireless mouse. They're sending it to me. It should be here probably tomorrow. So we'll give that one a bit of a crack. But Xtrfy, if you want to check out their gear, you know where to go. I'm not going to spell it. We've done it enough. We've also got our newest sponsor. We'll put them in second. Why not? Let's mix things up. Let's get a little bit crazy on this Monday night. It's
My
Displate.
cat is going crazy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go. That's cool. That's like we're talking. We're having some fun. It's a little bit cute. We got cats. We got ironing boards. Prof's having a big smile on his face. Everything's looking good. But Displate, if you look in the back of Striker's picture right here behind his head, you can see him on the wall. Metal posters, comes in a variation of different goodies. You can get some anime stuff if you're a bit of a chibi weeby. You get some Counter-Strike stuff, some portraits, some this, that, and the other. And as you see the camera getting focused around there, it is some cat time. But that's Displate, the newest sponsor of the show. Bitskins. Do you like skins? I know all you little Zoomers out there like skins. Well, Bitskins, you can head over there. You can buy, you can trade, you can sell some CSGO skins and items. So check them out as well. And last but not least, Parry Match. Gamble responsibly. That's the sponsors, and this is the show tonight. No guest, as you can see. We just have the regular panel of Lucas, the producer. Drum roll, please.
Should I make the drum roll?
In post.
Okay.
No, do it in post. Yeah, do it
Okay,
in post.
we do it in post.
Say hi, Lucas.
Hello, guys.
How are you feeling, Lucas?
I am alive.
Well, Lucas is not feeling too well, guys, so send him your love. Prof, heard you're a little bit under the weather as well, mate. How are you doing?
Doing better as
as soon as Astralis is eliminated from IEM Winter, so we
Wow.
don't have to watch them anymore.
Wow.
I was thinking about some team we can flame, and then I was like, NIP, and fuck, NIP is still in the tournament, then must be Astralis, right?
We're gonna be nice to NIP tonight, though. That's gonna be nice. Are you feeling in a good mood today, Strikey, to be nice to NIP?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a reason to be nasty to NIP.
Have you ever grown a full beard before, Striker?
I mean, depends on what you call a full beard. I guess nothing too much
Not
longer
like
than
Forrest.
I
No.
heard, Chad, you're doing a beard experiment next year.
No,
Next year, is that?
We had a beard before. I used to have a beard, but I'm going to bring it back. You know, I'll bring back the beard. We'll see. You got to comb it. You got to put the creams in there. You got to moisturize your face. It does get a little bit too much. But enough about me, the number one narcissist in Counter-Strike, ex-girlfriend. Yeah, let's talk counter. I always forget how we do this whole thing. All right, so we're all here. Everyone's having a good time. Last time we did this, we're in person over there in Blast, and we had a guitar solo in the background. This time we don't have a guitar solo. We have a lovely lent microphone thanks to Fragbite. Prof, do you want to do the shout out for me?
Thanks to Kale from Fragbite. That's all I'm gonna say. I also use this opportunity to say that I will no longer make fun of his the state of his apartment. This is where it stops. He made this nice offering to us to supply with a nice microphone during quarantine. You can't go out, you can't do anything. So I think this is a nice time to stop that running joke that I have.
Okay, that's fair enough. Now, look, boys, you guys know where I am right now. I'm at IEM Winter. I'm here in the hotel with the players, and we have plenty of Snickers bars. So I just thought I'd bring one of those across here for today's conversation. I think we can get straight into things, right? We have to run the bumper, right, Lucas? All right, recent news. Let's get into it. Well, Striker's out chasing some pussy right now, so we will take a little bit of a look here and get things underway with the Counter-Strike conversation. Here he is. He's back. That was quick.
That was quick, man.
That was real quick. Damn.
What happened? That's how the editor-in-chief gets things done. That's how it
fuck
happens.
around here, or he does.
No.
One of the two.
Straight to the point, man. In out.
The thing
goodbye.
is, like, the second we went live, like, I have it by Bob's cat. She's going back to her place, and like literally as soon as we went live, she's just started going crazy, just like going around, like trying to eat at the cable from the microphone and everything. So I just had to go get like a plastic mouse that she just like plays with and stuff like that. So that's
You're gonna love this one in post,
like,
man. You're gonna love it when you
right
see.
here, right?
You're gonna love it when you get to see this one a little bit later. It's gonna be
okay.
You're gonna really enjoy it. We'll leave it for now, and you can take a look once the VOD's up. Boys, we obviously have a lot to talk about here. Let's just get through the recent news. Let's get through it, and then once we're through the recent news, we can get and sink our teeth into some of the hotter topics at the moment here, because there is a lot to talk about. A lot of the same topics we talked about previously, but we're going to rehash them. We've got now. You're okay with that?
No, I said we like to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
essentially the whole.
The
essentially, yes.
So we're going to start with NAF extending his contract with Liquid. Now, I don't know about you two boys. I didn't see this one coming. I actually thought that he was going to go with Stu over towards EG here. So this one caught me a little bit off guard. How long did he extend the contract for? Do we know? Was that public?
It is until through 2023. I think that was the, or it's like 2 to 3 years. Something like that.
I know there was like a big discussion about what it means, and I'm not sure what we.
Yeah, let me just check just for 1 second, and then I can tell you. NAF extends contract says through 2024, but I checked, and it's not until the end. It's not until the start of the year. It is somewhere in between. So let's say somewhere in 2024 he'll be out of his current liquid contract. But that's fairly long, right? That's 2.5 years.
Yeah, well, it's good for him. I'm sure based off of some of his performances here, Striker, that would have been a play. Maybe they upped the amount of money to offer him to get him to stay. Why do you think he stayed? Because it didn't seem like that was going to be the way for some of the rumors I was hearing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, early on, I heard a lot of it. NAF was just kind of down at Liquid is just going elsewhere. Most of the things pointed to EG for sure. So, but like, I don't know, maybe a week before it actually got announced that he extended, I heard that he might be staying, but that didn't really make sense to me with like the Shocks rumors at the same time as well. So I wasn't entirely sure what was happening there. But I think I mean, in general, I don't hate the move. I actually like that he's staying because I think overall, even with this potential new Liquid now lineup that's been reported, I think that that is a better home than what EG is planning, because especially I think EG is just still kind of trying to figure out what the lineup would be, and maybe Nav didn't like what's happening over there, so he just like decided to stay with Liquid instead, where his future maybe would have been a little bit more set. So I think that's what happened. It's just kind of like a change of mind halfway through it.
I think as well, right? I think this is me taking it to a personal element here as well. His girlfriend is in Europe, and Liquid obviously have that facility in the Netherlands, right? So from a social aspect as well as probably an in-game aspect of having a little bit more certainty in life, right? I think the Nitro rumors, they would be pretty cool if they are true, right? So we've got Nitro, Elige, NAF, those three back together. And then the conversation, right? We heard Vinny's name in there for the mix for a while. Now it's Shocks. That one there, I think, is the jury in or out on that one? Where are we on the whole Shock situation? Do we think that's a actual possibility here?
I think it's pretty much confirmed that he's going there, especially with I mean the report that he was basically locked in was even before NAF extended the contract. So I feel like it's just both of them, even though it doesn't really compute to me, because I felt like it was kind of a 1-for-1 replacement that Shocks was just approached as a replacement for NAF. And now that it seems like both of them are going to be in the team, I guess that's the biggest problem for me. I actually don't mind Shocks being in a lineup like that. I'm just curious about how they would solve that from a role perspective, because there's definitely going to be some clashes between those two, and I'm not sure how they're going to solve them, because I feel like NAF is a versatile player, so he's probably going to be able to kind of like move around and just kind of make sure that Shocks is a little bit more in his own element, because I think Shocks is still a very capable kind of like a semi-lurker, that kind of a player. I think he still has a lot of game sense for like late game situations and clutches and stuff like that. So I think he's a very useful piece, even in a top team, even at this point in time. So that's my biggest concern about how they're going to make it work with those two.
I think as well here, if Nitro comes in, they're looking at oSee though. So Nitro's not going to be AWPing. He might go back to be able to do what he was doing once upon a time when he was first a star or an upcoming star in North America, right? Where he's a bit more of an aggressive rifler, right? So him, Elige, and oSee is the rumor of the AWP player they want to get. But I swear that they tried to get oSee before. At least there was conversations about it for a period of time there, and it never really came to fruition. So I wonder what's changed there to want to get him from Xtrasalt, and that kind of would be a really big blow to Xtrasalt, right? When you look at the flip side of things, because if he goes, well, yeah, Floppy's there, Fang's there, you've got JT in the mix, right? Marky's there as well, but it feels like oSee is the one that we're talking about quite significantly when we talk about Xtrasalt. So from that side of things, does oSee make sense for this team? And if it does, actually, I don't know, is he going to be a fit for this team? It's interesting.
I mean, who else? I guess they need an AWPer, definitely. I think they definitely need an AWPer. Nitro, you can say that he did AWP in the past, but their AWPing wasn't a very AWP-centric team, definitely. So add that onto the opportunity that you can get an up-and-coming NA AWPer, and if there's one player in NA right now that deserves a chance in a tier 1 team, that's oSee. I think like the NA scene in general had a lot of problems with like, are we giving enough opportunity to the up-and-coming players? And this, if you don't give him this chance now, then when? Like there's not going to be a better pickup, I feel like, for Liquid and for the role that they need. So that kind of makes sense. And then if you think about it, like maybe the trio, like map control trio, being like Nitro, Elige, and oSee, and then you have the Shocks and NAF as being like the lurky boys on different parts of the map. I feel like it can work. Even though, yeah, originally I also agree with Striker, like NAF and Shocks kind of similar. That being said, I think just not having Vinny in and having NAF instead boosts the firepower a lot.
Is it blowing you away though? Like, do you think the team?
It's not blowing me away. There's still a lot of potential pitfalls. Nitro being the first one, we have no idea how that's going to work. Splee as an in-game leader, coming from a different game, like not being up to date on the meta, not being like mechanically, I don't know how that's going to translate. Obviously, he's shooting in a video game and clicking mouse 1, so there's going to be something there. But is it going to be super impressive? Considering like when he left, he wasn't the most exciting individual player.
He did sacrifice a lot though, right?
Yeah, that is true. And he's the game leader, so maybe he doesn't have to do it. But you know, there's a lot of question marks. And then Shocks as well. For me, it's like a cultural thing. I don't know how that's gonna work out, right?
Well, also
yeah,
where they want to be
question
living, right?
marks. Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. I'm saying there's a lot of question marks. They're not, for me, they're not gonna be a team that I'm gonna say, oh, they're gonna be the top 5 contenders for next year. But they might be, but I wouldn't presume that they would be, let's say.
They had a lot of work to do, I think, right? And this this opens up a couple of conversations, right? Because the other team with EG, the rumors I'm hearing around that is Automatic making a return and joining up with Stewie again, and then Cirque and Breeze, and then depending on the 5th, right? That's the rumors I'm hearing over there at the EG side of things.
Much worse than this Liquid lineup, I have to say.
You think?
Not excited about that at all. I mean, that's
game lead. I wouldn't mind that in a new project. I don't hate that. You're not sold on it?
But who are you excited about on that lineup?
I don't think Breeze is done yet. I just don't think he was motivated. I think the biggest issue with that team was Stan, right? And I think that he didn't put in enough work for the team. And I'll probably come out and get told this is fucking conjecture, sure. But the thing is, the way that it didn't look like from a player or the way that they're approaching a game perspective that the team was in it. It just, to me, didn't look that way. And I don't know what was going on. I don't know what the issues were within the team, but I can only speculate on what I could see. And I just think like they lost a bit of the hunger and passion for it. You're losing Ethan. All the players are kind of falling away. If you don't do something to keep your head above water, then shit's going to be a bit of a mess. And I think it was a mess. I think that EG were on a decline. They had the peak with the New York event, and then everything since then was basically downhill since that point. And I don't think it's just Stan's fault, but I think that when you look at Breeze, he's still a very good player. I think Cirque can still be a very good player. I don't think they're done just yet. I understand what you're saying. Automatic, as long as he's not AWPing, he could definitely return to being a good rifler. He's won a major, right? I don't know. I don't know if I want to throw that away too quickly.
Do you think that Automatic would be a better player than Grim, let's say? Like, I'm not even sold on that.
Yeah, idea. Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. I couldn't, at this very moment, you couldn't say that Automatic would be a better player than Grim, right? That would be a very misinformed statement to make. Yeah, fair enough. Well, that is the rumored other project. I made a tweet about this though, right? I came up with one that was like, I think I called like the next in line or some shit. And I think I had Rush as like reinventing himself in some form of a career arc like Apex. But let's say Rush doesn't want to do that.
Taco as well.
Yeah, Taco as well. Let's say Rush doesn't want to do that. Let's just say Daps for argument's sake, because we know that he can create like a good system, right? We know that Daps can do that with players and he has a good approach to the game. Let's say we had Daps there as that individual as opposed to the coach. I've heard some things about Obo, that he's gone a bit off reservation. I don't have any verification on that. That's just a couple of rumors I've heard that he's gone a bit off reservation. So let's rule Obo out. He was part of my team.
I don't know what that means.
It means a lot of things. It means however you want to translate it right now.
But that means one of those things that you don't want to say, so you're using alternative terms for it.
Yeah, that works right there. Alternative terms. So let's say that we have Grim, right? We get Grim in the mix, right? I think that he's and put him in positions he actually wants to play. Okay, Junior, I think he didn't get a fair crack of the whip, right? He went over there and he was playing in Fury, and everyone's like, "Well, Junior's fucking washed now." Well, no, he went to a Brazilian-speaking team where he was expected to perform in a team where he didn't speak the language. And then they were meant to, it just makes absolutely no sense. Floppy, okay? So, right, we got Daps, we got Floppy, we've got Grim, we've got Junior. And then if we kind of oboe, let's say Fang. Let's give Fang a crack. I think that Fang could be a player with a bit of potential over there. But this is the next gen, right? This isn't meant to be like a blowing the pops of the charts away here. This is kind of grabbing a couple of the rosters and the loose pieces we have right now and blending them together and trying to build something.
I mean, that is essentially where Extra Salt is heading, if you ask me. Like, if oSee leaves, Junior is probably the player that's going to come in. And then you have Floppy there, you have Fang, you have Marky, right? And then JT as the IGL. So I think that's kind of the future of NA. That team is going to be the third wheel, maybe the second wheel if EG doesn't show up. So maybe there is something along those lines. Maybe one or two more roster changes can essentially be the team that you're talking about. Grim is a player, like, where does he land if he's up for grabs? If Liquid don't want to hold him on a contract for like 6 months, then he's probably gonna just join a team for free or for a minimal buyout fairly soon, and he could probably like bolster a team like Extra Salt, right?
Yeah, I think that North America right now they have some some moves they can make. But interesting to see how that one all shakes out, and we can keep this one moving. Peacemaker no longer with complexity. I think we expected this one to be happening here, Striker. It's just a matter of time until all those pieces dissipated.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's no secret that like complexity we're just looking to move on to like some completely other project, right? So I think Peacemaker moving out was just kind of like the last, I don't know, the last contract they had to get rid of essentially to kind of like put that roster completely behind. So yeah, no surprise there. Curious about what his future, what's in his future, because wasn't he rumored to be in that fucking Brazilian reunion Last Dance?
It still could be, though,
lineup,
right? Apparently that's still happening. Like, apparently that's something just not with Cold Zero.
Yeah.
Like, I think Bolts is in the conversation now. I think Fur's in the conversation. I think FNX is still somehow in the conversation. So it is possible,
yeah.
right? It is possible he could end up there. But yeah, look, I don't even feel we need to give that team conversation right now. Like, until it manifests, then we can start the conversation. But until then, we probably just leave that one to one side. So yeah, for Peacemaker, I think the biggest thing around this was, Prof, you saw that he was getting a lot of shtick on social media. I don't know if you caught this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it was I feel like it's a bit funny when people go on and like make a giga obvious joke making fun of someone's career and then being like, oh, why are you getting so upset? It's just a joke. Like, your joke is my career is a joke. So that's not going to be funny to me, right? I feel like that was a bit maybe too much, not too much. I mean, you can say Peacemaker breaks teams, blah, blah. But if Peacemaker comes and calls you out, then just say it to his face again, right? Don't be a pussy about it. I mean, for me, Peacemaker, I've heard a lot of bad stuff, especially from the earlier days. I've heard some better stuff from like 2018 onwards, but he got into the Danish scene.
Well,
but
recently it sounded good.
Yeah,
right?
but I also heard
recent critiques.
I also heard that he clashed with some players in more recent teams as well, and that kind of leads to, you know, you lose maybe one very good player, and then the team is like, oh, who do we replace him with now? And then that leads into a bad direction. So I'm not saying he is like a team breaker, but there are also some situations that maybe he didn't play ideally, I'd say, in some more recent teams. So whatever.
I think the track record as well, like if you look at the amount of teams that he's coached, he's probably coached the most amount of teams out of any coach. I'm trying to think if anybody else comes to mind. Is there anybody who we think has coached as many different teams as Peacemaker?
Not really. Not on this level. I don't think so.
No, so
there's that guy David, if you know, from like ESEA Premier Advanced teams. He coached like literally 20-30 teams.
That's just North American teams though, right?
But even Australian, like I think he coached like Finest. He coached like so many teams.
Okay. All right. Well, I think here a big part of it is like if you just looked at the track record, right, where you think, okay, well, what could be the issue with this? But from the players that I've spoken to, most of them only have good things to say about Peacemaker, right? And one of the biggest issues I have is, and this is not a coach's problem. If I was a coach, I'd be holding as many cards close to my chest as I could. The way that they want to coach and set up systems and approach the game and the way that they do their job is one of the most highly guarded things that we have, right? They're not going to come out here and say, this is how we do it, because that's giving away the secrets, right? So one of the problems that they have from a front-facing scenario is we don't know. Like, we just don't know. It is whatever critiques they get from players in public. Yeah, this guy was good. This guy did this. And most of the time, those players are probably only going to say good things in public anyway, because everybody has skeletons in their closet, right? So if you were a shit player and you didn't work hard, and you could say something nice about the coach, he's not going to come out and say something nasty about you, right? This sort of stuff here goes on in the backdoor conversation. So in terms of what people do and how good they actually are, unfortunately for a coach and an analyst, right, it's really quite difficult. We can't see your workings, right? It's like we're having a maths quiz and you can't tell us how you got to X. We just have absolutely no idea. So I think that is an issue around this for them. Maybe that's why some people are sending, material before they make the move to a new team. I don't know. You can look at things however you want. But yeah.
10 out of 10 reference.
There we go, guys. We'll keep this one moving. We don't have to spend too long on that. And I hope what I said was fair. I was trying to take a bit of an impartial stance right there and kind of lay out a couple of bits and bobs. Why is Sponge sitting properly like this? Because if I lean back, guys, I'm on a couch and I'd be too far away from the mic. So I have to sit up straight. I'm sorry. Okay, moving into another bit of coaching news and another coach that we only have the reference points off of what we assume, right? Is Kassad. He's now a free agent, no longer with Xtremum, so he can. It's a good time of year for him to become a free agent. Same for Peacemaker, because we know that there's a lot of moving and shaking going on right now within the Counter-Strike ranks. So the two of these names out there, and quite well-known names in the coaching departments, could be looking to find themselves on some teams, right? So is there any obvious places for Kassad here, Striker, that you think that he could be going immediately? Like, if he probably wouldn't be announcing in such a way if he'd already been making a couple conversations in the back rooms, right? This is like a, hey, I'm out here and see what offers come his way type scenario.
I mean, one place that seems like an obvious choice would be G2, especially because like they've already kind of like had those rumors that Emmy could be joining them. So obviously there's that Serbian connection, and they played together however many years ago, 8 years ago with Nico, and obviously there's a lot of connection there. So I mean, that's the most obvious place for him to go. I don't know if that's where G2 wants to go, but considering that if the Emmy rumor is true, and I don't know if it is, but if it's true, then I feel like Kassad is even a step up compared to a guy like Emmy, who's maybe not as proven as Kassad, who
just doing in-game leading, right? Over there with FPX up until this point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Emmy has coached the crazy lineup before, right? So it's not like he has zero experience in the job. But Kassad is somebody who's obviously been with 100 Thieves and Renegades before that for its number of years, and until now, until Extreme, when they were doing well, right? So it's not like he has a terrible track record, even though it's like the latest year might not be the best resume for him right now. But yeah, other than that, I don't really know whether there's another place for him at the moment. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head, unless like one team that's without a coach would be like Copenhagen Flames. But obviously, you kind of would probably rather want a Danish guy to coach that lineup.
Well, they had Pizza, right? Until he went over there to Dignitas, right?
I don't know how the communication worked there. If Pita was good enough in Danish, or if they spoke in English. I have no idea. Obviously, like, I don't know, as a coach, maybe you don't need to necessarily be super into the communication and stuff like that, and you can just like work with them behind the scenes in English, and that's not going to cause too many issues. But in general, I guess if you have a full Danish lineup, you kind of want to have a full a Danish coach as well. And other than that, I can't even think of anybody who doesn't have a coach.
NIP now, right? They're saying goodbye to Threat, but that's also Swedish.
Well, he's staying, right? But he's changing role.
Yeah, but they're like, yeah. So Heroic is like on this like weird thing with Exist, but that's also a Danish team, so you don't want an international coach. Liquid has a Dren. There's OG, the rumors with Malik, and they have Daps. So no, EG. What did I say? So there's not a lot of places where you could go. Fnatic has Kita. I don't think they're going to change with the British guys. This is just like looking at the top 30 teams. I don't know if I'm missing something a bit lower currently in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Ecstatic team who has Trace, but I don't know how much Trace has been able to do there. Obviously, like a guy who's only got into the job, so I have no idea. Like if there's,
I mean,
there could be a place for improvement.
They kind of exploded on the rankings since he joined, him and Wolfie. So I don't think that would be like a thing to change now. So yeah, there's not a lot of not options.
Obvious names anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll leave the coach talk for now. I'm sure we can return to it a little bit later in the show. That's the bulk of the recent news. Let's get into where we left off on last week's show. Was it last week? It was last week. It was last Sunday.
You don't want to talk about flusha?
I'll find my guitar now, guys.
Oh, well, we can talk about flusha. He wasn't here in my recent news.
Yeah, that just happened recently.
Okay, all right. I'll let you off the hook this time, Prof. Okay, we can talk about flusha. Now, he wasn't ever signed. Well, apparently they had an org, right? That was the whole situation. Apparently they did have an org over there, but we never found out who the organization was.
People have such a hard time believing that they did have an org because of how ridiculous like this whole situation has been. They've been literally like with an org, but with an unnamed org for like a year or whatever it is when they first got this team together, right? But they do have an organization. They actually have contracts and salaries and everything. People might not believe it, but they do.
That means flusha now leaving the team is still contracted to an org that we don't know.
Until the end of 2023.
For another year.
How are they getting paid to be in an org that didn't advertise themselves?
It happens.
What the fuck?
I mean, to be honest, like orgs like Extremum did exist officially, but still didn't have like any like sponsors or anything. So it's not a big difference if you look at it that way.
Can we talk about that?
Wait, but talk about
went extreme him.
What was it? Was it like a CS money or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
There was like a big betting something, not skin site that was behind the company. Yeah,
I think it was CS money.
So maybe
I don't know. I'm not certain, but I think it was.
Maybe Bitskins is behind the Gorillas. Who knows?
Maybe. Are you joking? But it could be possible, I suppose. I don't know. It's esports at certain stages is about who you know, not what you know, right? So for them to have been getting a salary for this period of time, it's interesting with flusha leaving, right? Like he was the one who started this project, and JW just joined with his old mate, right? So I know he didn't just join, but it feels like it as far as Gorilla news goes. So this is curious. Where could flusha go, right? The thing is, I wish that flusha went and did like a taco story, went and grabbed a bunch of the younger Swedish guns and then like brought up a team like that. That's what I wanted to see happen with some of these names, right? That's what I like. If Get Right kept playing, that's what I wanted to see happen. flusha would be the type of guy to do it, though, wouldn't he? Like he would be the type who could be an in-game leader for a team like that. Actually, impart a lot of knowledge, grab some of these youngsters. I don't know. I'm not sure where he could go.
I have no idea. Like I think his status tanked so much during this Gorillas thing, but like before that, I could see him going a lot of places. Now I'm not really sure. So it probably has to be something like what you mentioned, like a domestic smaller project or something like that, or maybe a team like an org that got a lot of investment money and now wants to sign some like big names combined with some new names that could maybe do something or something like that, like someone that needs to establish themselves. I don't think it can be like a big org like re-entering CS and now they're going to sign flusha and Cloud9, let's say. I don't think that makes a lot of sense.
End up back there again. Okay, well, for flusha, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think you got anything on this, Striker? We can leave this?
No, not particularly. But also one more thing that kind of came out of that is that JW is also leaving that team. He was kind of like listed as a stand-in and not stand-in. I don't know whatever the fuck the situation was. He wasn't even contracted, but he's actually leaving for the next year as well. So like this Gorillas team is like once again without like 2 players and just changing players again. So in next year the team could be
for this.
No,
He left the army for this.
I mean, he can go back at any point. So
yeah, that's true. Poor Sergey. Finished Counter-Strike. Whatever happened to those guys?
And it was all a fluke.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move forward here, shall we? Let's jump into where we were last time. So if you joined us on last week's episode, we were thank Blast for putting us up in the mezzanine level. We were overseeing the arena as they were rehearsing. The guitar man was out there ready and raring to go. They were given a bit of a crack just to get the acoustics of the arena. We had Carrigan on the show, Batman, as it were. So that was great to have that going on. I was feeling miserable as all hell. And I felt miserable as all hell all day. So that was good fun. But we got through it. We didn't get to do a long show. We also weren't able to bang through all of the content, which we normally would, like the quiz and the Paramatch Matchmaker and all that jazz. So we will make sure we do it today. I apologize to anybody who was coming here specifically to see those last week. So we'll make sure we get to them now. But it was the last 3 teams, right, in the event, and NAVI were the ones we all thought were going to win, and we were talking about how it could be possible for them to lose, and through that whole conversation, it was Astralis versus Vitality, and then it was NAVI versus Vitality, right? So I guess we can start with the Astralis versus Vitality portion of this. The problem is the perspective of Astralis then is now tainted by what we saw this week. So we're in a little bit of an issue with this. So maybe we save the Astralis chat.
For IEM Winter.
Yeah, and we do the Vitality chat. Let's just do the final. We'll just do the final, right? Yeah. And we can talk about that. So NAVI continue to be the unstoppable NAVI, but they did lose a map, right? They lost Nuke. They ended up losing Nuke. They lost their streak. I think we all thought it was going to happen eventually, but I didn't expect it to happen there with the circumstances around Vitality now. But the thing that I like about Vitality on the tail end of this year is they're still playing good Counter-Strike, even with those circumstances surrounding that. So massive props to them. Like massive props to them for still coming here, playing the best Counter-Strike they can, not letting the organizational decision change the hard work they put in. Because a lot of people at that point would just be mentally quitting, right? These guys are doing actually quite the opposite. So to take NAVI out there and actually make the series interesting, otherwise it would have been quite the boring final. Where do you land on all this, Prof?
I mean, it was overall a good match. I think what you're talking about Vitality, and you watch Apex even now, Like at IEM Winter, he's getting super tilted when they lose rounds.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel like a dead team, even though we know it is. It almost just like unlocked a new level in the team in terms of, okay, this shit happened. This team is going to last for like two more months, but let's actually make the most out of it. And maybe they're not practicing as much, actually like playing practice matches, but they are preparing for matches. Like there's no chance for them to go into matches with just like no prep and play like this. I think they're still putting a lot of hours into like preparing for opponents and making game plans and sticking to game plans and stuff like that. So it's not as if they're playing like a pug team or anything. They're playing like a proper team.
On that point, like Matt, for example, one of the analysts, well, 1.6 legend, he's still with them here. Xtaz is here. They still have their entire crew here, right? They're just going through business as usual, which I respect the fuck out of. And on that Apex point as well, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Like, I never thought he would be able to do what he's done with his career. Like, mad respect for what he's been able to achieve and the type of Counter-Strike he's playing. At one point in this tournament, after like the first day, I think he was like the highest rated player in the tournament, right, Striker? Yeah. So
there's another thing just to add. Like, you have to take a look at Blast and the way that the matches went. Like the teams that played 2 matches in one day versus the teams that play 1 match in one day, because unlike like IEM where it's mostly the same teams, like if you play 2 matches, then your opponent in the second match also played 2 matches. Here there's always someone's playing the early match and then you're playing another match later in the day and the other team's coming in fresh. And not only are coming in fresh, you have like no time to prepare. And for the final, it was actually kind of ridiculous that Apex literally finished the game with Astralis. It did like blah blah, let's congratulate, and like 60 seconds later it's like, oh, come over here, we're doing the veto. It's like, what the actual fuck?
An entertainment standpoint, that one there, isn't it? It's like the hook to keep people around for the game to start.
I understand, but that's like why I don't really agree with that. Like, give him 10 minutes to like go and like go through his notes or whatever. Like at that moment, it's not like he had all of his shit ready with him while he was playing Astralis. Like, if in case we win Astralis, then there's another note for like the Navi veto. I don't think he was ready for it either. It seems like they were surprised by it as well. Like Xtaz tweeted about it.
I'm sure they were told, but after you just played a long series against
it's like, yeah, we're going to do it straight after that. It doesn't mean like 60 seconds after. This is like one of these situations where I have to back the players for this being kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I feel like, who the fuck knows? Navi have definitely, Vitality have been the team to show the most against Navi so far, which is kind of crazy. So who knows if things were maybe different. If this was another day, maybe there's a chance for them to pick up an upset, like an actual upset. But yeah, Navi win again, and I guess we can talk about Navi. So wherever, Striker, if you want to take it from here, I don't know. Seems like you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to add something on Vitality. I've forgotten in the meantime because it was like 5 minutes ago that I was thinking about it that I just lost my train of thought. Yeah. I mean, in general, like seeing them lose Nuke, especially the way that they did, that was surprising for sure. Navi, I didn't expect them to just get blown out, but I thought even when it was coming to, I don't know, whatever the score was, like really one-sided score, right? I thought, okay, Navi is just going to at least start pulling back and, make it a close one at least. And like the same thing we saw with G2 when they were trailing a lot, even Vitality before that when they were at the major, when they played the first or whatever, like the quarterfinals at the major, like both times, even when they started really badly, like they still pulled it back. And especially like when they went over to the CT side, right? But like Vitality just kept up the pressure and just like won the key rounds and never let them get back into the map. So that was a surprise because I thought Navi would just extend the streak there. I wouldn't have too many issues. Yeah, generally super impressed with Vitality keeping up this kind of form and even looking better to a degree. Maybe it has to do with like the pressure or lack of it anyway.
A bit of looseness now.
Yeah, exactly. That they are just a little bit more. I don't know, not as many fucks given. Not as much pressure for the young guys. Who obviously had a lot of pressure on them before that, especially Kyojin, as the new guy and kind of like the guy that a lot of people criticize, and even Masuda, like he had a really big period in online, but when he came back to LAN, it wasn't so great. So like, I think this situation has almost helped. It's kind of been a blessing in disguise for Vitality, that there's not as much pressure on them in general, and they can take things a little bit looser after what was kind of a rough period at one point for them. So impressed with them. And I mean, Navi, like, what do you even say about Navi at this point? Like, they just seem
Still being
so
said, hasn't it?
unbeatable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. Like, it's just one of those things, right? Like, this team has so much individual power that, like, you just don't know how they're going to get beaten, you know? Like, not consistently. Like, sure, they can probably lose a series if a couple of guys just go offline and don't really show up. You know, Bit, you know, has an off series. Simple's just like normal Simple, but like nobody else joins him. You know, that can happen even to a team like Navi, but it seems like it's going to happen so rarely that like it's going to be hard. And I'm curious to see what kind of, like, what lineups out of like the new ones that we've heard about, like the Vitality one or whatever, like this Astralis one, when they get some time, like who's actually going to be the one to start challenging them next year? Because at this point, I don't know who can.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. And one of the things I want to build on here with this is the fact that they do have that firepower, right, which is now built around Simple and Electronic, the duo that always was, but also the system. Remember with the critique for them at one point was their T sides are quite rubbish and it felt like their strategic approach, but now it feels like they have a lot of depth. There's always a lot of answers that they're able to find here, which is quite nice. So those two things combined, I think I made some references either on the show or on the broadcast that, yeah, look, if you get through all the players and they're not playing well and you're able to beat them and then you're able to get past the system, then Blade calls a timeout and then they immediately win the next round, right? So it feels like there's a lot of depth there for Navi. And the last thing I'm sure that all the viewers want, unless you're a Navi fan, is for us to keep fucking gagging on that Navi dick. So we can put that to one side. But one of the sentiments was, and this has kind of been taken out of context, I think, by a lot of people on the forums, is the fact that we were kind of saying that this is the start of the Navi era. Now, the reason we're saying the start of the Navi era, they have to win a lot more for it to be actually an era. But when you look back, and let's say they continue to win for the next 6 to 12 months, when you look back, this was the start of the era, right?
Yeah.
This was so that's why the conversation is the start of the Navi era, because if it does become the era, then this is the beginning. Whereas the Astralis one kind of just happened and we were like, holy shit, these guys are so fucking dominant. Like this time around, we understand what we're seeing on our screens. So it's not a Navi era, right? Even the players, I think, acknowledged that it's not an era yet, right? I think they were saying if they win the Blast event, then it's starting to kick off. And another win for them out the year means definitely their year from probably even before the middle of the year, right? A little bit before that. So that right there is the sentiment, I think. So I don't want people to get crazy thinking, oh, it haven't been long enough. They haven't won enough tournaments, this, that, and the other. It's just the sense that if it does, it's beginning now. So
and it's also very realistic to expect it to continue, right? It's not like, oh, we have all of these challenger teams. Now they need to prove themselves next year against this and this team. Like, even if we're getting a lot of these roster changes, it's unlikely to see Navi in the first couple of months of next year to be like not winning tournaments, or at least not being top 2, top 4 at 90% of the tournaments that happen. So if we just have that plus the results here, it's like this is probably enough to say that Navi had their era, right? And even if like in March they start falling off, all of these results together, it's like, okay, this is, maybe it's not the most impressive year of all time, but they're getting there. So it just seems very likely to happen anyway. And I think the question is like, how can it, like, who can actually stop them and what can happen for Navi to lose events? Yeah. And then you look at, like, I posted these stats yesterday about their fucking entry stats. 3 players with over 60% entry duel 1, which is actually kind of insane. That's kind of insane. Like, usually if you have players having 60% plus, that's like passive oppers. Like you have the Brokey type, that takes not that many duels, but wins all of them. They have around maybe 70%. These guys have like 60, 65, 69 on Simple, Simple Electronic, and Bit are the 3 like most active. Not most active. Wumich is pretty active, but he's not that successful, right?
He's making space.
And then even Perfecto has like 51% or some shit. So it's like you're playing 4v5 like 5v4 all the time. It's kind of insane. I think for Navi, like we need to have a couple of things combined together to actually see them. Like I actually want to see them put under pressure, like to see them in games like the G2 game, for example.
A full series, not just a map.
Yeah, for the G2 game, for example, on Nuke, where they had a lot of issues, and then we had like Blade calling 4 timeouts, and then in the end they managed to figure it out, and a bit of luck and everything, and they close it out. But I want to see more games where they have that. But the problem is, like, how do you put them under pressure when they're just like killing fucking everyone all the time, and they're not like, it's not like they're lost on the map, they know what they're doing. So it's very hard to see them actually being put in that position. But I think the mental part of the team, I feel like that, and maybe the mid rounding and some like problem solving from Boomich, I don't think that is like S tier on the team. Like I think those are the weak points of Navi, but we just can't see them being actually exposed because everything else is so fucking good, and the other teams are honestly not that good at this moment. Like no one is there's no actual real challenger for Navi.
But that's the point I want to grab with next, because that's another dialogue I've seen starting to creep in now, is they're good, but nobody else is good at the moment. This is what happens, guys. I don't know how long half of your memories are, but when there is a dominant team and you can't beat them, right? You don't just keep smashing your head against the brick wall
just
trying
says,
to beat
fuck
them.
this and let's change rosters.
You
right?
change roster to
That's...
find the key to the success to beat them. That's why these teams are changing rosters, because Navi keeps bending them over the fucking table and showing them who's boss, right? That is why these teams are changing rosters, because they need to find that little bit for G2. They need that extra, let's say 20% to take it to Navi, right? What's that going to be? For Vitality, apparently they feel they need a bigger change, right? This is the conversation. These teams feel that they need the change to take it to the Kings. And that is why these changes are happening. It's not happening for they're not just going, oh, well, let's change roster. They're going, oh, well, we want to win, so we have to change roster. Now, guys, I don't know why my webcam is trash. I spent like close to 300 euros on a fucking 4K webcam here, and I look like Shrek. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I don't know why I look like Shrek.
Instantly.
I don't know, right? But yeah, like that's we'll fix it for next time round. Maybe my internet from home will be better.
There was like the verbal equivalent of just like slamming the top of the PC to fix it. You know, it's just like Chad just like starts blaming the shit out of the webcam, and that just fixes itself.
There you go. See, it heard me. But that's why these teams are changing roster, right? This happens. Like when Astralis was the best, Liquid were trying. They were giving it a crack. But even Liquid changed roster. Remember, there was Taco, and then they brought in Stewie. These teams change rosters to try and beat the best team. So don't use your fucking short-minded memories around here and go, it's not even hard. There's a reason for this. There is a definite reason for this. And Navi, right, them deciding that right now they're going to be the best team in the world is because of their hard work. It's not their problem that nobody else is able to keep up or on the same trajectory or able to do it at the same time, right? This is the way this goes. We don't have roster windows for trades. It's not like everybody at the same point of the year trades players and we get to see, oh, who's the best team? Teams have these contracts like we spoke about with NAF that end in fucking Narnia. We don't know when they end, right? This is something here that is we don't know, right? And when you have players who can have a tantrum and go, we don't like each other anymore, and then they change team, well, then shit is different every single time, right? So let's make sure that we keep these things in mind, right? And we don't get a little bit too crazy about it. I do want to get into a few other bits around Blast, if we can.
Sure.
Are we okay with this? Now, I want to do something I like to call the good bad sandwich, guys. So what you want to do is you want to butter everybody up. You want to do the good first. Now, the good, here's the good, is that Blast right now, I think without a doubt, are running the most polished events. I don't even think that was a conversation, right? I think in terms of just their overall from top to bottom, they do everything very, very well. A big shout out to obviously Nicholas over there and his crew, because he is a captain, right? He is the leader of that ship over there, and he will say, no, it's my team, but he's the man with the vision. It's top down, and he's a lovely human being, right? I think Martin, the guy they have as the producer, also in that room, he loves Counter-Strike, and he is the reason that the broadcast is so polished. So great job to Blast. They're doing a really, really good job. Here comes the bad, and this is not directed at Blast. This is directed at the fans. Now, let's get into this, because I had some fun with this.
This is what you were waiting for the entire time.
I had some fun with this. Everybody. Here's the fun part of this, right? There's a few things I really want to sink my teeth into too. Let's start with the first. You guys all type Blast Major. Okay. When I just said right now that they run the most polished events, I think that we would all assume if they were pitching for a major, the Valve would likely give them a major. Now, let me tell you, they're not pitching for a major. That's why they don't have a major. So when you say Blast Major, that is great. They're like, yes, everybody thinks we should run the highest caliber event, but they're not pitching for a major. So you can't sit here and expect them to run a major and be like, oh my God, why did they give it to this company when they're currently not pitching for a major? So that right there, you guys need to understand that. You need to understand that. That is something that you all need to be able to get through your heads. And they also run smaller events than other TOs. They don't run 24-team events. They don't run 16-team events. They run 8-team events. It's much more manageable. You need to understand this. Now, I got really mad this morning when I asked you guys for questions, and you all gave me dumb cunt questions, right? But then I went to the gym. I had a shower. I thought about things. And here's the thing. you guys listen to people like us to understand what's going on. So that means that we are doing a bad job of informing you. We are doing a bad job of giving you the correct information to have the correct opinions and have the correct sentiments. So we need to do a better job. So instead of me getting mad at you, I am mad at myself. I need to do a better job of making you understand. Now,
Sponge fully Mamba mentality on this right now. It's like, no, it's not them. It's me. I need to do more. I need to do better.
We need to, because that's the thing. If people at home are sitting here thinking this is the case and getting mad at this, that, and the other, right? I need everybody to try and look at this from a TO perspective. To run an RMR event, if you're Blast or ESL, it interferes with the way that you've set up your own circuit. You do not just run an event on a weekend because you want to run an event. Both of these companies have clear circuits they want to run. The EPT and the Blast circuits are very clear. They all build into each other. Next week, we have the Blast Finals. It's a very important event for them. Unfortunately, not an arena. We know that, but that is not their issue. That is the circumstances of the world. To run an RMR or to run a major is a lot of resources going elsewhere and something you don't make money on. You don't make money on these things, right? There's no money in an RMR. And there's nothing good comes from it. You all just shit on these companies that run these events. So why would they ruin their own circuit, do extra work for an event where if they run it even slightly not to your standard, you will shit all over them? Why would they do that? Why would you cut off your nose to spite your face, as my mother would say? So that right there is the first thing I want to point out. One more time. They are not pitching for majors. That's why they don't have a major. Should they have a major? Yes, but they need to pitch for a major to have one. They run the highest quality right now. That's quite clear. Everybody at home will get that.
Are you saying that the 2022 majors are not going to be by Blast?
I don't know. I don't know. The rumors I'm hearing...
It's unlikely, though.
That's the rumors I'm hearing. That next year, it's very unlikely that they are Blast majors.
To be honest, like a lot of these majors have been pitched 2 years ago, before COVID, when we were supposed to have these 4 majors, and all of them were supposed to be decided, and then COVID hit. Then the first major was supposed to be ESL Rio. Then that didn't happen. That got delayed, pushed back, canceled. Maybe still happening. We don't know. And then like, PGL is doing this, and we kind of presume that PGL was supposed to do a major. In that year was 2020, like the second major in the year that was supposed to be that major, and then we got it now in 2021, maybe in a different location. But we suppose that all of those majors that got pitched like 2.5 years ago are going to be probably, with maybe some changes if someone pulled out, are going to be the majors that we have next year. And then if, of course, Blast didn't apply for them back then they can't have them now. Then if nothing
2023
up,
maybe 2024 maybe, right? Because if they continue to go up and up in terms of their scaling, right, then maybe they would. Maybe they're going to change their approach in the future. But we can only talk about what we know now, right? And that's what we're talking about, what we know now.
I wonder if, by the way, just to piggyback off this, I wonder if that's like their next step. Just like obviously they've set up this circuit and they have these partner teams, and obviously this is like very well thought out, and they have like this whole system. I wonder if that's going to mean if like the way that they get to a major, they start pitching for a major, is that they start running bigger events. We start seeing them run like an IEM Winter type tournament where there are 16 teams, and just like so that they get some experience of running these events, because like obviously they've always run such a like kind of a unique format. Even like obviously if you go back to Blast Pro Series, like that was like especially if you look at the arena, if you look at how they set up the arena, they had every single team. Like the setup in the arena was fit for every single team there, right? And obviously that wasn't necessarily the case here, but it was still kind of like a 2 setup or 4 setup a stage and stuff like that. Just look not in this most recent event, but before that when they changed the format first time. But yeah, I guess that's probably their next step, where they just want to make sure that they are prepared to run a major when they do decide that okay, that's our next step. But like I agree with what you were saying. Like I think running majors, first of all, like everybody is saying how like that's just, you're in a massive hole if you run a major. Like it's just so economically unviable that you just do it for kind of like the recognition and like a lot of new eyes on the majors, because there's always like a lot of new people coming in to just watch the major and stuff like that. And you want to have like chances to show off your partners and whatever if you're an organizer. But obviously like it's, especially with the amount of issues we had from Valve's side in terms of like running majors and how much like they had a part in kind of like the majors not running smoothly, especially at the beginning, with like new game versions and stuff like that. This just carries so much negativity because of, you know, something that you don't really have a control over as the tournament organizer, that like you don't really want to run a major unless you just know that you're going to be able to run it smoothly.
Yeah.
So like you have to.
It makes sense.
Like, yeah, 100%.
But think about it. Think about it this way as well. If you have a clear circuit like they do, the group stage, the showdown, the finals, that happens twice a year for Blast, right? That is their seasons. They run seasons, and then they have their global final that's coming up next week. I already referenced that. Why would you take any of those events that you have scheduled into the calendar that for arenas you have to schedule months in advance, actually years, a year in advance, probably for big arenas? Why would you change that? Change your entire format that everybody at home, you're trying to make them understand your story that your event circuit runs because of this event. Why would you do that? Why what? It doesn't make any sense, right? And we have clear windows for the majors now. So at this point, these companies, ESL and Blast, can schedule around these things and go, yeah, run your fucking thing. Like, do it yourself, right? Like ESL, when we went Road to Rio, went online, ran every single RMR for the first one, right? And we just had shitloads of Counter-Strike going on. But what a sync, what a time sync. What are you getting out of that other than eyeballs, right? It's an event, you don't know where it's coming, you don't know if you're gonna get picked, it's not, you can't budget for it, you don't even know if you're gonna fucking get it, right? So there's so many factors here as to why this is like, I think that there's a system, and here we go as well. This is also the case because both of these companies think their best way for revenue is to have partner teams. That's another factor.
Yeah.
If they didn't think that they needed partner teams to generate revenue and be able to have content and show you guys your favorite teams and players, then what they could do is have open circuit, and then they might want to run the RMRs. They might want to run the major, right? They might want to do those things more. It just depends on the way that you want to approach things as a company, right? This is completely up to them. It's their business. It is their business. Yeah.
So maybe the way that we fix this, and obviously, like as I was saying it before, with kind of like the viability of running a major in terms of finances and stuff like that, maybe it's time for Valve to do something about that as well. Because like obviously we're getting to a point where people don't even want to pitch for RMRs sometimes, and like that just like gets decided at kind of a last minute, and they're obviously in a weird,
to run them without anti-cheats.
Yeah, that's also a part of it, right? Like they've just chosen some weird organizers sometimes that didn't necessarily have the capability to run them. And so like it's pretty clear that running these events isn't necessarily very, especially RMRs. I mean, majors, obviously we see enough tournament organizers be interested that there's obviously some viability to them. Otherwise the people wouldn't be pitching for them, right? But like RMRs, they like nobody wants to run them because it's just like teams that are forced on them, first of all, so you don't really get to choose like who's going to take part in it.
It has to be that way.
Yeah, obviously.
We've covered this, right?
Like, of course. I'm not saying that there should be any other way, but I'm just saying like the reason why people don't really want to run them is at least a part of the reason why is this, right? Because you have no control over the tournament and you get nothing from it. Like you basically, I don't know exactly how much. I mean, Valve are matching a certain level of prize pool for the RMRs, but I don't think anything goes actually to the tournament organizers for running these events.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they get for doing that. I'm not sure if they get like flights or accommodation or anything covered like they do for the major. I know that there's those kind of kickbacks to help them with the major stuff, but you're right, a way to incentivize. But the thing is, and this comes back to that little conversation we had short where I brought up the spreadsheets and shit, and we were speaking about that stuff. This is where it comes together that we're on two different ways, right? The way that Valve want things to be is open circuit for everybody to play, right? And for it to be a funnel into the majors. The way that the TOs think the best way to make money is to run these type of events with partner teams, right? We're going two different ways. We're going two different directions right now. Unfortunately, we need to meet in the middle so that we can all get the best out of this. And I like the idea of an open circuit. I think that we can make both work. We just need to come to the table as all different elements, right? Everybody who is involved in Counter-Strike, excluding Valve. This is it, right? This isn't my official plea because I didn't prep for this. When I do this officially, it'll be much better and I'll be on my soapbox. But what I hope in the perfect world, right, in the utopia of Counter-Strike, is that all of the TOs are able to put their little petty differences aside, all of the teams who have different deals everywhere, all of the broadcasters, the big news websites for HLTV, for example, all of these massive entities that exist in Counter-Strike, we come together and we sit down at a table to decide what works best for everybody, right? And some of the things that really fucking shit me off here is that certain TOs have been framed like they're the villain. And one of those is ESL. Like they're so fucking evil and they run all these events and they hog all the calendar and all this fucking nonsense, right? Like one of the things here with all of this is, if that was the case, no, let's not say if that was the case. The issues that I have with this is the fact that like, ESL gets framed like they killed North American Counter-Strike. There's not a single TO who runs as many events in North America as ESL. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we shitting on this company who's done more for North America in the existence of Counter-Strike than literally anybody else? Like, all these things, we need to come together and work as a collective. This is a conversation for another day. I'm going to get too heated, and I'm not prepared for this one today. Can I get into Flame in the Blast crowd now? Can we go there, Prof?
Yeah, I think just the one thing to touch on about the majors, it is problematic if we have the biggest and best tournament organizers not wanting to pitch for the major, for me, and it seems to be moving in that direction, right? The issue is like these are the landmark events which everyone joins in and wants to watch, and this promotes the game to new people to watch the game and play the game and all of these things. And like PGL Major, as we saw, had like historic numbers, but like 80% of the tournament was produced actually very poorly, right? And the fact that it had so many viewers, it's not that much up to PGL. Like, it's not a PGL allowed this event to have like record numbers. If it was an ESL or Blast event, I doubt it. I could bet that it wouldn't be less than that. That's all I'm gonna say, right? So if we move in this direction where we just give it to like worse and worse TOs, just like go down the list, not worse as, oh, these guys are shit, but like their production level is not on the same level as other tournaments that are doing more big events, or like have a better team around them, then just the quality of majors will go down, and that's definitely not a good thing. I don't think I have to explain, like, having our biggest event in CS being produced like 1/3 of the level of a Blast, it just looks like shit, right? I'm not saying it has to be the same level, because it can't be hyped up, can't be done the same way as a circuit that's planned in 2 years in advance, which Blast is like a year in advance at least. But we need to be at least close to that level, right? And then let the hype of a major just like elevate it to where it needs to go. But yeah, I think that is an issue. I think Valve needs to like look into the mirror and realize like how can we fix this issue? Like it's not a good direction. Also, I understand that they want to help these like smaller TOs to not have a big monopoly going on. And this is something that we talked about like 2 years ago. So if you give a Starlight or PGL majors, then they can maybe work off of that to be relevant. So it's not just ESL holding the whole year, but there needs to be a balance in some way that we still have a good product throughout the years for majors.
Yeah, I think this is the solution we need to solve with everything, because when we have all these issues, we talk about the schedule, we talk about this, we talk about that, right? It actually all just funnels into the same thing, right? All of these things, we need to solve that more. Like, what's going to happen is one of two things. We either actually kill ourselves, right? Where we fight so much and we overlap and we all just try and grab as much of the pie as we possibly can until there's no pie left. Or we work out a way that we can come together and then everybody can eat, right? Everybody's able to work this out. As it's for Valve, it's for the TOs, it's for the players, it's for everybody, for the viewers. Everybody gets the best possible experience. And I think that eventually clearer heads will prevail. And that's me being an optimistic individual here.
Okay, take it on to your fans that you hate so much.
Okay, I don't hate these individuals. Now, if you guys watch Blast, I think that the general sentiment was it was a biased crowd, and I was there. I can tell you it was a biased crowd. It was an extremely biased crowd. I want to preface this because remember, this is the good bad sandwich. I did the good before. We're still in the middle. They're in that meaty middle part of the sandwich. But in terms of the issues I had here, let's list a couple. The crowd was cheating, and it wasn't the entire crowd, obviously, right? It wasn't the entire crowd. It was portions of the crowd. I heard
big portions though.
Yeah, I heard reports from the players who were saying that they could hear with fans in the front row yelling shit to the Astralis players while they were playing about stuff that was happening. Do you guys all see the clip where they're crossing secret behind the wall smokes and the crowd are yelling shoot in Danish? They were cheating. That they're cheating.
That is ridiculous, by the way. Like the fact that they just got to a point where like that started being like the norm for like whenever there was like a crosshair on a guy and threw a smoke like that. They did it so much that I was just like, how the fuck is this? Sorry,
they did it in Odense as well. When we were there,
I don't remember that actually.
It wasn't as bad, but they definitely. We had to have Pimp go out there on the mic and say, "Hey guys, we want a fair game."
I'm surprised nobody did that, or at least I didn't see that. Then nobody do that or like kick people out for doing this because like. This is blatant cheating. Like, this is terrible. Like, how the fuck did we not deal with this in time? Like, it just kept going for a while.
It's
So
the
I'm just
most
surprised.
biased crowd other than the Brazilians, though.
Yeah, I guess.
I've done events in Brazil and I've done events in Denmark. I've done events all over the world. The most biased crowd up until this point is probably the Brazilians, understandably so. And then I would say the Danes. I don't know if you boys have had any other experiences here.
Thing with this blast event in particular, especially until the final day, the crowd was so near the players. Like usually you have let's say the stands where the players are like here, and then the crowd is like down here, and then there's this whole like there's like 20 meters away from the players from the crowd. And here originally was literally it was like I don't know, like 3 meters away was the VIP, not the VIP, but whatever, the cool zone or whatever. So that's the issue for me. And then they did adjust that. They moved the chairs a bit back. They added like a thing, like not a fence, but whatever. But it's one of these things that just spreads if you don't squash it right away. Like on the last game, there's some like drunk Danish kids like in the 28th row, literally just yelling, shoot. It's like no one can hear you. You're just being annoying as fuck. But since you don't kick out people that are doing it, people just like continue doing it. So definitely this is one of these things that we didn't really put down as a rule officially at CS events. But you can go like you can react to things.
No, I mean,
people really react to things, but essentially just saying like shoot, he's there and stuff like that. It's like, what are you actually trying to do this? Is it like disgraceful? Just get the fuck out.
Yeah. I mean, I know that at least from what I remember, I don't remember which event this was, but there was some ESL event. I don't know if it was Katowice or what event it was, but I remember there was
it was
some
in
issue.
Katowice during the
VP Fnatic?
No, Katowice, but not in the actual arena. It was during one of the group stage when we had like a small stage.
Turned around.
Part of the expo, right?
Yeah,
it's part of the expo, I think 2019 during the major.
I don't remember exactly, but like what I wanted to say is just like I remember there being, people like with signs like go A, go B and shit like that. And those were just getting kicked out. I remember Carmack was talking about it at some point somewhere. I don't remember which event this was, but I just remember like obviously like some of these cases have been dealt with, and like some of these people have actually been kicked out of events for trying to do this. So how the fuck was this? Like, did nobody go on the mic and just tell them like, can we please stop this? Like, that's probably all that it would have taken for them to stop.
If somebody like Pimp to go out there who's super well known with
it doesn't even
community,
matter
right?
if it has to be like, it could be just like even the organizer, just like somebody with some sort of a voice, who just says like, okay, we're gonna start kicking people if you keep doing this. That's all you need to say.
Yeah,
and they're gonna stop. Or at least most of them will.
Not the drunk
stop.
ones, but a big portion of them.
Maybe not everybody, but like it's not gonna be like fucking 20% of the arena doing this. Like it was legitimately at least like a fifth of the crowd doing this, because every time I was in the crowd and I saw situations like this, it was a lot of people. Like it was hundreds of people. For sure.
It wasn't great. Definitely not great. And I think that in the future that needs to be addressed, especially if we go to home turf. Whenever we go to home turf, I think one of the things that needs to happen, because we spoke to ESL a lot about this. I spoke to Carmack a lot about this after the Odense stuff, because that cheating there, it just pisses me off. Like it really gets to me, right? Like I understand there's going to be ambient, and like when the crowd, like if someone's flanking and they're going to knife someone, the crowd goes, ooh, like that's going to happen. That's going to happen. But when you're yelling out information, that's completely different, right? When you as a collective crowd are yelling out information to help your team, right? That is a real big issue. And we were talking about with Carmack about making PSAs, right? Where you would get the players on the media days and say, hey guys, we want a fair game, this, that, and the other, don't do this. And Carmack would show me these different illustrations of they show the fans how to react. Not like, don't do this, right? We want a fair game, right? And we were working on this. We're definitely, it might even come when we get back to ESL LAN events. I'm sure Carmack, if he's watching now, still has that stuff in the works. So it was something that needs to be worked on, I think. And it's definitely something that we need to address. But there's other parts of this here with the crowd, right? The cheating part, we all know, bad. Don't do that. The other parts here, this is where you can have a bit of a conversation. These next few things, it depends on your culture, right? And the way that you have grown up with sporting, I would say, because this is what we have the closest reference to. And if you ask the Danish people on my Twitter, apparently they'll tell you it's a very football culture, apparently. Booing your opponents doing an interview before the game's even started. In Australia, right, I understand that, well, before I get to the Australian part, I understand that you want to get in the head of your opponent, right? I understand that you want to do that. The fact that they were booing Carrigan when he was playing, Carrigan is a Danish legend. It showed me that the crowd knows Astralis and they don't know Counter-Strike, right? They definitely don't know Counter-Strike. They know Astralis and that's it. And that's fine. That's fine. You're just a fan of Astralis. That's cool. But one thing I learned as a kid, right? It's all cool to jeer and shit talk, right? Playing cricket, smack talking while you're playing and shit. You're behind the wickets and you're talking smack to the batter. But that's something we do all the time in football and soccer and all of it. You talk shit. But once the game's over, you shake hands, right? Everything that happened during the game to happen, happened during the game. And as a crowd, to influence the opponent while the game's on, to boo them, you do all that. I can understand that too. You're trying to get them in the head to give your home team the best opportunity. But once the game's over, especially if your team has lost, you stand up and you clap for the other team. You clap for the performance of your team, right? Good shit, everybody. Yeah, that was good. We went to war, right? This is the clash. This is the competition. And now it's over. And we're human beings. And we're in a competition and we lost. Sorry, boys, we lost. But good shit, Vitality. Yeah, you guys came. You performed. We don't boo after the fact. Because you just look like a sore loser. You look like a sore loser, you little bitch. That's what you look like. That's what you are to me when you do that, when you boo after the fact. Oh, you lost and now you're booing? So not only did you lose, oh, you fucking lost, now you're a little bitch.
No,
right?
You're booing the team that played better than your team.
Yeah.
So it's like, that is it's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for boos. I think maybe parts of it was over exaggerated, but there's like some super ridiculous moments, like a machine trying to like, he was like, give it up for Anders, Anders Semler and Vitality, and people like, boo. Anders, the most legendary caster in CS, Danish native. Do you not even know? It's like, how can you still boo? It was ridiculous. Some of these moments, yeah, I'm like fully on for like booing as they come up, and they're just like walk up and stuff like that. That makes sense. And then it's like, okay, let's hear what Shox has to say. It's like, boo. It's like, okay, can we at least hear what he has to say? No, we can't.
Shox isn't going to trash talk you guys. Don't worry. He's going to say some lovely things. He's going to go, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out. He's going to be the nicest person. I don't know. I don't know how to do French. I don't know how to do fucking French. I shouldn't have tried. But Shox is not going to say anything mean whatsoever. Shox is going to be the loveliest guy. He's a lovely human, right? Shox is one of these guys who would never, ever, like, and people are getting tilted because Apex was like taunting the crowd.
That was
Apex
perfect,
is taunting the crowd.
I think that's perfect.
Because he can hear you motherfuckers yelling out information. That's why he's taunting you. He's taunting you because you were trying to cheat. And now he's like, well, fuck these guys too. Like, it blows my mind, right? Like, I love the fact that Apex did that because I wish I could do that. Unfortunately, my little rant that I had, the crowd couldn't hear, right? They couldn't hear me talking shit about him before they all packed up and went home. Yeah. And here's my next point. Oh, we had to get home early. We have work at 6 a.m. I got to put the kids in bed. You bought tickets for the final day, not knowing if Astralis would even be there. And your expectation of a team that just changed massive roster-wise, you thought they were going to be there on the final day. You bought tickets and thought they were going to be there on the final day, did you? So then that's why you left early, before you saw the two best Counter-Strike players in the history of the fucking game go toe-to-toe. Really?
I mean,
really?
To be
That's
fair,
what you want me to believe? What, Striker?
To be fair, the arena was at least pretty close to full, like, still for the final.
60%?
I think more. I had
a pretty good vantage point.
Fair enough. I mean, I was looking around and trying to gauge, like, how many people left. I thought it wasn't that bad.
It was still a decent vibe.
Like, you could tell, but it wasn't like suddenly like nobody's watching. It was still a really good crowd.
I think the funniest thing, like, I have to admit I was wrong. I made this joke that Astralis has plastic fans, and actually Astralis wins this one because they're the only org in CS that actually has org fans.
Like core fan base.
Yeah, they actually support,
right?
That support the org primarily. Like, but tomorrow if Simple goes to fucking Hellraisers, what do you think? What jersey do they wear? It's not gonna be Navi. Like, right. Navi has fans, definitely has fans. But okay, maybe Navi as well.
I mean, there are a few like legacy orgs, who do have like a big core fan base, like a Navi, like an Astralis, like I mean, it used to be Virtus Pro, not anymore.
Cloud9 does in North America.
Yeah, Cloud9 does in North America, obviously, but I mean,
Brazilians.
It's like some of these organizations that have stuck around for a long time and just like were competitive.
But the thing is,
like a lot of
Astralis, even Astralis players that left Astralis are like, fuck these guys, right? Like Device, Kerrigan, these people.
I don't know. Like, an IP got a really big standing ovation from like the Danish crowd, and obviously like there's two Danes there. Like, it's a bit different, but
it would have been for Device.
Still, I feel like a lot of it is for Device because he's like, obviously it's because he was in Astralis and stuff like that, and he was like this amazing player, right? But like, it's not like they just didn't stop caring about him completely.
Yeah, sorry, who was talking?
Have you guys maybe thought about that also coming from the Danish football culture?
That is the bit that. So explain the
Something-
Danish
We don't know
football
what it
culture
is, so-
to everybody here for us, Lucas, as the resident Dane.
No idea. I don't watch football. But
So what's the point here?
but I mean, the point was you guys, talked about everyone like whining in the arena when Vitality beat the Astralis and kind of being bad manners. And
Yeah.
they're like for life with one club. And that's a big
What, is
thing
that
in
a
football.
mantra in
Yeah.
Denmark?
Yeah, you're like for life with one club. And
Okay, so they
you
fall
have
into the sore loser category
yeah,
then, do they? You're all Danish football fans too.
I mean, you have people who watch football because they like football, right? But you have the diehard fans who like have their own section because they're way more wild.
I think we just grew up in different cultures then completely, right? Because for me, like I said, where I grew up, if you lose, right, you don't boo the team that you just lost to, right? As a fan, because you lost. So the last thing you ever want to be is a sore loser. That's the last thing you ever want to be, right? So what that translates to is if they are upset with their team losing, they should be because their team lost, right? But there's an era of respecting competition. We both go in with the same expectation of wanting to win. One of us is going to win and one of us is going to lose. But at the end of the day, right, it is a competition and there's a level of sportsmanship that exists within competition, right? To be a sore loser is a horrible thing. Like, to be a sore loser is like it doesn't make any sense because the result's already done. The result is already over, right? So you didn't get the result you wanted, but that is the result that happened. And you have to live with that. Like that isn't something that you can change. And by booing, you're just making yourself look bad. Like you're not making yourself look good at all. It's the very opposite here. And like I get a lot of this, like a lot of people in my comments are like, oh yeah, this is just the way it is for us culturally. I was like, fuck, you guys grew up in shit countries then, right? Like, what the fuck? Like that's the way you.
Is fine.
No, you know what
I
I'm
know
talking about here from
for
a
like
sporting
my
culture
experience. The thing is, it's like kind of different than esports and sports because like if you have a football game, you don't have like after the game ends and you're like, let's say like Dinamo Zagreb comes to Split, which is like a big rivalry, and Dinamo wins. We don't do like a post-match interview for the whole stadium with the rival captain, right? We just move on to the side and people either like celebrate our players that lost or boo them because they played like shit and throw shit at them.
Players.
Yeah, I mean, if they lose a lot, then people just like boo them, boo their own team because they're trash, right? That happens.
That's great, to be honest.
That's like that's how it happens a lot because we've been trash for the last 10 years here at Split. So it's a classic thing, and people like throw chairs and pyrotechnics and shit like that.
I mean, that's what I'm wondering about. Like, why are we different from football in that sense, right? Like, we don't really have violent instances, where like fans just like, go at each other and stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, at which point do we get there? Like what are we missing from football, like from the football culture or whatever it is that makes people do that? Like that it doesn't happen at esports events because I feel like it can't be just like the generation or whatever because it's a lot of the time it's just like young people and a lot of the time it's going to be the same fans, right? So like why are we different? Why doesn't it happen in esports? And I'm kind of like wondering whether this kind of mentality where like people are, okay, this is like a football match, we can boo and shit like that. Like if that carries over to esports, if that starts happening like a few years down the line, where people are just going to start getting violent because, there's the home crowd and like the people who are going to boo the team that won. And then there's the crowd of the smaller crowd, like the 6 Vitality people that are just going to go ham because Vitality won. And just like all of a sudden 100 Astralis fans are just going to start, whatever, just start beating him up in something. Like I'm wondering why it's not happening because like it feels like we're not that far away,
But can't we be? Here's the thing. Here's me living in that little utopia I like to live in. Why do we have to be like the traditional sporting fans?
No, I'm not saying that we should.
No, but
I'm saying like,
I know you're not.
How do we? Yeah,
I know you're not. The Danish people who wanted to make an argument in my comments did.
Sure.
Why do we have to? Why do we have to carry that culture? You think that's a good culture? Right? Is that something that people want to look in the mirror and go, yeah, that's good. Let's carry that through the rest of our. Why? Why does it have to be like that?
It's feelings, right?
Yeah, the one thing that I like about it, and I was just saying that on Twitter as well when I saw like the way that Machine tried to kind of like calm the crowd down. like this shows emotion from both sides, right? Not just the fans, but like from the players as well. Like that, like you saw Apex just like going back after them because
We
there
want
was
some
like a lot of
personality.
yeah, exactly. Like it just shows a lot of personality, and obviously like you're not like if everybody's just like respectful and like there's always going to be some animosity, right? Like why not show some of it? You know, I'm not saying we should just start like have fights between like crowds of fans. Obviously not. That's what I want to avoid
With keyboards.
What's yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You get your
That's what I
team
want
sponsored keyboard.
yeah.
Bang! Don't do that, guys.
That's,
Don't,
yeah,
no
that's
violence.
I want to avoid that like at all costs. Like I don't want us I don't want esports to get there where we just get these violent periods, right? So but in general, like booing and just like some of this emotion that you're just like pissed that your team lost and stuff like that, sure, show it, because it's just gonna kind of like spiral into like other reactions and just like people like kind of showing what they're feeling inside a little bit more than just like keeping it in and just trying to be respectful at all times, you know, because that's kind of like the PR approach that I kind of like stand against a lot of the time. So I don't want us to just all be like, oh no, we shouldn't show like negative emotion because it's too bad. Like I fucking show it, you know, as long as it doesn't go too far.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's lines for all of this. Now, I took enough time up here ranting. I apologize, everybody. You happy to move forward, boys? Yes, Lucas.
I mean that
Here we go.
It's probably a
The
good
Danish
idea
fan,
with that
Lucas.
the public, the PSA or whatever.
Yeah.
That could probably be like a nice thing.
Yeah, just
You
stop
know,
people from cheating.
Exactly.
I think that's actually what it would take. Like that's the only thing that it would take. Sure, you're still gonna have like some, you know, people who are just gonna be dickheads about it and just still keep doing it, but you can keep those out individually. Like it's hard to keep people out if like 1,000 people do it. You know, you just have to show them that that's not okay.
We just need to build our own culture, right? Because this way we go into all of these different countries. Of course, it's going to be based on what their local things are at sporting events, and
like Australians getting drunk and doing beer snakes.
Yeah, that's kind of funny, I have to say. I think there was a lot of booing there as well, but
was there?
In a funny way. I don't know.
Henry is a wanker. He got booed.
More like,
that
like the show match though. That show match was really great though. It's like half the crowd just flipping off Henry G's team when they want to clutch or whatever.
Yeah, they were in on the joke.
Yeah, exactly. That was fun.
So yeah, we just need to kind of do that better and kind of build our own culture that makes sense for us, right?
Sure.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with a swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you fall and fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parimatch, your esports teammate. Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. Credit card deposits and withdrawals. Instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
The nice thing about displays, they're super high quality and very easy to hang up. All you have to do is mount the magnet they provide you, then just stick the poster on the wall. Every art piece they offer is super collectible and looks great no matter where you place it in your house or room. The wonderful thing about Displate is they also look after the environment. Every poster someone buys, Displate will plant 1 tree. They've already planted over 14 million trees and they're still planting. So you're not just getting an awesome poster, you're also helping the environment.
I agree with that. All right, let's move into IEM Winter. All right, back to the Snickers. So this one, here's a fun one for everybody. Here, guys, here's something for you. The restrictions, we can talk about COVID restrictions too. Because that is where we're going with this, with the back to bubble scenario. So as we get into that, just to let you guys know, here's a fun little thing they have going on here, right? Literally anything that you may have required within that first week that you were unable to go outside the hotel to get yourself. Here's myself as an example. Underwear. I could send somebody out to go get me underwear. So if you had a request of any variety, right? Sometimes maybe you'd have to pay for that request. But if you had a request of any variety, I'm sure that they would have made sure that that request was fulfilled. And I even went and I took a picture of the snack room, right? Where are we? Where's our little HLTV group right here? Of the fruit that was next to the snacks. So I don't know how much fruit you guys are eating on a daily basis, Lucas. I sent it to you. If you can bring it up, it's going to take you some time. It's on WhatsApp. We can come back to it. I don't know how much fruit everybody's eating, but to me, that looks like a lot of fruit. You guys will see it soon. And then we can come back to the Snickers talk a little bit later. But let's start with the fact that
I can't believe this is even a discussion, man. I just hate just putting attention on this shit.
Isn't it? Isn't it something? Isn't it fun? But let's start with the fact that this was a much more restrictive event. So we just had the major and we just had the blast event. Both it was putting the onus, I would say, on the fans, the players, everybody involved to do what they thought was sensible to not get sick. There you go. There's the fruit. Plenty of mandarins, a big bowl of bananas. Apparently, Graham said at IEM Fall it was hard to get bananas. I saw today probably close to 50 bananas across different places in the venue.
A lot of bananas.
Yeah, a lot of bananas. So I don't know. Maybe the players weren't eating a lot of bananas today. But it seemed to me like there was plenty of bananas, plenty of water, plenty of drinks, plenty of snacks. If you want snacks, I tell you, the snacks don't really get touched. That's why I have all the Snickers. Just want some Snickers. But yeah, regardless of that, so we're in more of a bubble environment here. It's been quite restrictive. As I mentioned, for PGO and Blast, for both of them, there was some testing involved. I don't know what the players' testing schedule was like. It may have been different to what mine was like, but in terms of, this here is much more restrictive. And I think if you look at some of the things that were happening over there with the Valorant, there was some false positives apparently, but people were put in their rooms and this, that, and the other. It was a little bit, there's problems caused because of that. ESL's way of doing things, as much as it is very restrictive, right? Like it feels like you can't get away with a lot. The event happens and it goes off without a hitch, in the sense of nobody's getting thrown in their room and disqualified because of COVID. Whatever you put in TeamSpeak, I can't see it. Good. I heard the little ding, but I can't see it. So we have a pretty restrictive event. I think some of those things are changing this week when we're only down to 4 teams. But as far as that goes, I don't think it's any surprise, right, Prof, that we found ourselves back here in this type of an environment, considering the Omicron transformer fucking virus.
Was originally, I guess, as things developed, because we are in talks about like sending people there, because we covered the last 2 events and this one was smaller, and these last 2 events are people like high-fiving 7,000 people in an arena, including like 3 to 5 dildos per entrance, right? So we
3 to
had
5,
that.
good number.
I mean, just like gauging it there, more or less.
Week's worth.
One
so
for
yeah,
every day.
after that, people being like, oh, now we're going back to the bubble. It seemed weird, seemed like unnecessary, right? But at the same time, you can't really say, oh, we won't do it, because it always makes sense, right? It always makes sense to not put yourself out to risk in like health hazardly ways. So you can understand why it's happening. In the end, like there was some talk that maybe we cover like the last couple of days, but in the end, there's nothing. We're not going to be sending any people to the event. I mean, understandable. At the same time, feels a bit maybe too much in some ways. So I don't know where you stand on that and how everything. I don't know if we need to talk about it, because it's essentially just an ESL decision, and understand from their perspective, they don't want to be
avoiding bad PR.
Yeah, you see the headline like massive COVID outbreak at the ESL event, and then they have a shit ton of bad PR, and then everyone's like, who's going to get fired? Then a lot of big people in the company get shit, and those people don't want that, right? So kind of understandable that it's this way, even though kind of sad for me and kind of ridiculous, considering, like, as I said, we're just in arenas and there's essentially
literally in the same hotel.
Yeah,
that too.
The PGL major and this was the same hotel. People were high-fiving everyone. There's the lobby was full of not only players but everyone,
like random people literally that stayed at the hotel. Everyone's interacting. Clubs were open, cafes, bars, everything, right? So it is how it is, but you can always be more safe, right? And that's how it went, I guess. I mean, I have the same feeling about it. Just I've learned, even though like it obviously sucks, like I've learned not to judge ESL for it, because like I don't have a good enough argument to say like you should just like let people do whatever they did at Blast and PGL, because obviously, like if you think about it, I'm not going to call it a miracle, but it was definitely on the lucky side. Yeah. On the lucky side that none of the players got COVID. in either of those two events, at least as far as we know. Maybe somebody got it ahead like afterwards and nobody said anything. It's possible, I guess. But at least during the event, there was no. I think there was like somebody said that like some staff at Blast got COVID, and then PGL also had like 1 or 2 cases or something, but that was not related to the players. So like that is on the lucky side. So like if
we dodged a bullet or two.
Yeah, exactly. So if once maybe one team just gets infected, that can spiral out of control and could just lead into an event just being kind of like segmentized and like.
We're back. We're good. We're good.
Cool. So just to continue that point to finish it off, I don't know when people didn't like whatever people heard or didn't hear, but just in general, like same as Prof, I'm sad that we didn't get to go there, and I'm sad that like after 2 events where there were basically 0 restrictions outside of like some mask requirements, like at the event or the PGL, that everybody kind of like started ignoring once we got to the arena, because like what's the point if you're in the middle of 10,000 people, right? Like it's kind of gets kind of ridiculous at that point if you want to wear masks around that many people, like inside and just like in close contact with another stuff, like everybody stopped at that point. So like after those 2 events, it's kind of rough to go back to like a strict bubble and not even be able to be at the event. But like ESL just want to have their events run properly and just run smoothly without any interruptions and just like awkward situations where they have to deal with COVID, or worst case scenario, literally just like a massive outbreak where half of the teams are suddenly infected. Like this stuff could happen. Obviously, like worst case scenario and stuff like that. But like if you want to avoid that, I can't really judge you for that. Like I understand it.
Yeah, same kind of thing. Like if that's the way they want to run it, right, and teams still want to come, right, and they say we're going to come, well, then everybody understands the situation we're in. But if people think it's too restrictive and they don't want to be here, then don't come, right? And that's the conversation. Shouldn't be people being the fans at home, right, get to dictate how a company wants to run their events in this type of a climate. Now, I don't care what your personal view at home is of the pandemic, right? I don't care what you think about what COVID does or doesn't do. I don't care what you think about the vaccine or you don't think about the vaccine. I don't give a fuck on your opinion on that. This is a company making choices that they think are best for them, right? Yeah. So that needs to be the thing that's there. You at home don't get a say in that. I'm sorry, that's not up to you. That's up to what they think is best. And then the players and teams, if they really didn't want to come, right, and it meant that they were going to breach contract for some of them as part of the Louvre agreement or whatever the fuck the details are there, then that's something that they would have to deal with on their own.
To be honest, like if they were so upset about it, they could complain. But this is one of the things that you can't complain about. Like you can't publicly, at least. You can maybe like behind the scenes like, fuck this is annoying. But you can't actually go out and say like, no, this makes no sense. It's just like what me and Striker were talking about. You can't actually make the case that it's like, this is pointless, because it's not pointless.
It's not. Yeah, it really
it is. But the question is, is it like 5% useful or like 20% useful or 50% useful? And then it's like, yeah, whatever. But it is definitely limiting potential hazards, right? And then
we can't do as many fun things when you're in this situation. But look, I don't want to dwell on this. This is
just like to move on from this. I saw like G2 and Vitality having fun on the 11th floor with like some ping pong and drinking and having fun before their games. Classic.
I think I've already had 3 PCR tests and I've been here for a week. So if that helps put things into context for people, like the people, and we've been in a bubble. We have to wear the mask as soon as I leave this door, even though there's no masks in Sweden, right? Whenever I'm around the hotel, I have to wear a mask. I have to have my badge at all time, or security won't let me onto this floor. We have our own meal area away from everybody else, right? There's all these different rules, all these different things that are in place here. So once you're in this group, I don't even know if I'd label it a bubble. We like to call it a group. Then you stay with the group, right? So we stay away from the terms like bubble, because if this is a bubble, it's got some fucking holes in it. Let me give you the hot tip. This is another one here. Now, if you guys missed it before, and I was saying that it's up to us to inform you, the general viewer, of a lot of these situations, here's another one that I want to give you guys some information on. Now, some of you would have seen the flying DJ. That's Uli. He's a big dog over there at ESL. He made a tweet regarding this 5-day break, right? Now, I want to make sure that you all understand that he's actually not bullshitting, right? Because sometimes he makes some tweets that are pretty interesting, old Uli. But this one here, he's bang on the money here, right? So basically, what the sentiment was now. Actually, before I get into it, they should have changed the format. They should have changed the format knowing they were going to be in this situation. I want to make that clear. They should have changed the format. They should have changed the duration of the event. What I do need to make clear is the reason it is like this is a reason that I think can make sense. And the reason I definitely not verbatim, but the reason that this was set out like this and other events within the year have been set out like this, for example, the Katowices and the Colognes with the break, right? But the break's normally not as long because it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type event situation. But the reason it's like this is because the concept was to do the group stage on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the first week. Get the group stage done and determine the top either 4 or the top 6 teams, right? Depending on the format, depending on how they wanted to go. Then what would have happened was with the studio environment that we would have done the group stage from, wherever that would be in the world, I don't know. We would then get on an airplane on the Monday after the group stage concludes with the 6 teams, and we would fly to the arena for the playoffs, right? Let's say, for example, it could have been in New York, it could have been in China, it could have been anywhere, it could have been Katowice, this, that, and the other, right? We would then on the Monday get on the plane and fly. Well, I believe this event was originally slated to be an Asian event, right? So most likely would have been China because I think IEM runs in China quite frequently. So let's say on Monday, which would be today, we all wake up, we get on the airplane, we pack our bags, we go. We land in China, we probably get in China with the time difference. It's probably Tuesday morning, right? Considering how long it takes, Tuesday morning, Tuesday midday. And then we would all acclimatize Wednesday, Thursday. They would get their prac room, they would get going. They would be able to do some media. They would do all of those bits and bobs. And then on the weekend, when the arena fills out, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we would have now had a lead in with some content to hype up the matchups. We could have gone a bit more in depth. We could have built the storylines of the head-to-head a bit more because at the moment in events, because it's day to day to day, you don't know the storylines until that day is concluded. This is all that helped to hype it up, to add a bit more emphasis on those things. So that is the reason that we have a break now. Should we have a break? Should they have changed it because we knew we were going to be in a quarantine environment? Yes, right? Definitely. But the reason, right, actually, in theory, makes sense. In practice, because of the COVID scenario, doesn't make sense, right? We all understand that. But in theory, it could make sense. Now, I don't know if either of you two have any comments on this one here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it should have been changed, right? We knew the situation. We knew it wasn't a arena event. We knew that all of these things weren't going to happen. And the things that they did change the quarterfinals. They move it from Friday to Sunday, right? And then they reject a bit of the format. So we had double matches all through. Usually we'd have the last day being only like single matches or something like that. But yeah, they did that. It is kind of unnecessary to have such a big format. The good thing like this, the good thing with the quarterfinals, like I guess the meaning, the purpose of that is just not to have all of these teams to wait 5 more days and then just get eliminated in the quarters. So they got that out of the way. They got the top 4 teams, and then okay, we'll have this. So okay, decent adjustment. I think the decent adjustment part is like what Flying DJ said on Twitter, is that they only use this kind of a 2-week format for Katowice and Cologne for next year, I think, and then for the other events, the IEM Winter, like IEM New York, or these types of events, it's going to be a 1-week thing. So I think that makes sense. And let's be real. I know you joked earlier about like ESL's taking the whole calendar, but like if you make like 6-7 events in a year, which are all 2-week events, that really does make a lot of issues. Just like it takes a lot of space on the calendar, so you can't really move and plan a lot around it. So that's just one of these things. And of course, like most of the teams only play the first week, but no one can plan to be somewhere else on the next week because you want to get to the playoffs. Event or something. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's overall a good thing.
I mean, in general, also like I think one of the reasons that they want to do it this way is also just to have a little bit more lead up time in terms of when people learn who's going to be in the arena, you know, because like a lot of the time, like group stage ends and like at most within 2 days, you're already in the arena. You know, the people don't really have time to react, buy tickets if they're like one team that they weren't sure if it was going to make it, but they would go and see if they did. And so they have a little bit more time to decide if they want to go and buy some last minute tickets and stuff like that. So obviously that's better for the organizers as well. If they sell more tickets and have more people in the arena and stuff like that, helps them make up some of the money that they throw into the event and stuff. So like that's also a pretty big reason that is pretty legitimate. But obviously like that is completely mute if you're running an event that works like this, right, where there's no audience and nothing like that. So for sure.
The planning was bad for this.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down
definitely
to.
wasn't great.
I think bureaucracy would be the way that they will dissect this and go, well, we didn't think about it, right? Or we did, but we'd already had things planned, so we just stuck to it. But either way, it should have been changed. That's the fact of the matter, right? I think that goes without saying. Next little one here, I saw Ropsy Boy making some tweets, wasn't happy that he couldn't play aimbotz. So next one for you that I want to make sure we educate you on correctly so you understand is that back when ESL ran the major in 2019, they were informed that by Valve that they were not to have aimbotz available on the PCs for the players. Now, I don't know if they're able to inject something through aimbotz. I don't know. I can't tell you. I have no idea. But they were told by Valve.
I think any workshop maps were kind of like had that issue where if there was like a custom workshop map, you could technically like download something out of it and stuff like that. So I think that's the reason why workshop maps aren't allowed.
I just hate when fucking players, coaches, or anyone uses this kind of a framing. This is the thing that pisses me off so much. And then you go on Twitter and say, you reply to that person and say something like, this is not actually correct. And then 1,000 plebs come in the comments like, what do you know? You're just a fucking journalist, blah, blah. It's like, he framed this in a way that he knows why this is this way. Like, it's not like Robs doesn't know why this is this way. He knows the history of like people cheating, there being a lot of shit going on, people like injecting stuff through fucking workshop maps, why we need to do separate mouses, why we can't use Spotify, why we can't do all of these things.
They're allowed to use Spotify now, by the way.
Of course, they found fixes for these things over time. But this isn't a thing that just happened out of nowhere. You know why it happened. Yep. And if you don't like it, you could talk to people in the company to see if it can be fixed. And if it can be fixed, then you go on Twitter and you complain about it. But you complain about it in a really meaningful and in a way that you can, okay, we can fix this way. Or these tournaments have this, these tournaments don't have this. Of course, maybe some tournaments allow you to play whatever the fuck you want. But if you want competitive integrity, if you don't want people fucking cheating, then these are things that people want to do to secure the integrity. And then it's like, oh, we can't play any map. What is this? Now Sirison is getting his notes. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what happened with that.
I don't know what
that could maybe be just someone fucking up from the admin team or something. It doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that thing is like, okay, this is weird. But all of these other cases, like, there's an explanation for it. I don't know if players or people are like fucking lazy when they write the tweet and it's just like, let's just write this out. But they obviously, it seems like always, I think it's just a human thing in general. Like, they always just like omit a couple of details to make it sound like, oh, I'm perfect and these guys are shit. It's like, it's not really like that. There's more to the story than this. And then people get outraged on Twitter and like complain. It's fucking annoying.
People only grab the first thing as well, though. That's the problem. Like, once that hits, people are only going to read what Rob said, no matter what the response to what Rob said in the future. It doesn't matter. At that point, it's already done, right? So that right there was the rationale I was given. I think it was DJ who made a tweet in response saying if the players came together and said what type of map they wanted in the game, Valve would add it. Like, that would be the solution. If the problem is we can't have these custom maps because it's possible to cheat somehow, hey, Valve, we as the CSPPA, we as the collective player body would like a map like aimbotz that we could play, right, to warm up for tournaments. And that's the thing. The players are the most receptive. Valve is the most receptive to what the players have to say. And you can reach out. You can reach out. Let me tell you. I can tell you from firsthand experiences, you can reach out. You just have to. You just have to. If they want their emails, players, send me a message and I'll give you their emails. So you can email them directly and you can get in contact with them, because I'm sure that they would love to hear from you. So that's another one there that I just wanted to address. What else was on my list of rage this morning when I was quite angry at the world?
In general, like,
you went through everything.
Just before you get into that, like, I think in general, like, people are way too quick to take to Twitter over like the worst, like the weirdest things, like the snack thing, that's like, you can fucking talk to somebody at ESL. I'm sure 100% that somebody at ESL will just fix some more snacks or like something that fits you or whatever. Like, this is not a big problem. Like, there's no way ESL will go, no, you can't have bananas. Like, we can't allow that. Like, this is not going to happen. It's like, they're just going to bring out some more fruit. They're going to find a fix, for some of these small things. So why the fuck why do you put pressure on the situation? Just like putting things on Twitter, right?
Because people on Twitter read this as like, fucking players have no way of getting bananas. It's done. It's over.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so just fucking talk to the organizers about some of these things. Like, it's crazy how quickly some of these players just go to Twitter over the stupidest shit in the world. Like, there's no way that that's the way that we should go forward, man.
The catering here in the building is great. I've eaten it every day for 3 meals a day, every day, right? 3 meals a day. They're up on the 7th floor. Like I said, they have their own little section. PGO had the same section available, I believe. I don't know if it was exactly. I never got to go up there with the PGO one. I don't think we were allowed, but or I never asked, one of the two. But the thing is, it was multiple different options of food every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, very long windows of time. And if you don't want that, guess what? You can order food, or they'll order food for you. They will get you whatever you want, right? They're treated like kings. Like they are treated like some of the complaints about the prac rooms not being ideal. I think that's just the circumstances that we're in here with the type of rooms in the hotel that you can find to do all this. So there's a couple of things that should probably be better, but you have to also factor in circumstances like this. So there's a bunch of different things that all factor into that. Okay, should we jump into talking about?
Yeah, I mean, there was one question that we could maybe address with this, because we just touched on this with just in general, like the player complaints, and the Searson one, like the strat notes or whatever not being allowed on the table or something like that. I know there was a question like that on Twitter or something like that. I know you put it in one of the docs that
True.
It doesn't really matter, but there was a question like if that's okay to have like if it should be allowed to have players like have so many like notes in front of them, about whatever their game plan or their strats or stuff like that, and if it should be okay. I feel like we could talk about this now, considering we're in this.
Give me your tip. For me, it seems obvious that they should. I don't see.
I don't see a reason why they shouldn't. Like, I guess you could make an argument that like they should know this by heart, and they should like memorize all these things, and then they shouldn't just have like, people could call it cheat codes, but obviously that's not what it is. It's just like sometimes these teams have so many strats that it's just really, really hard to remember like every single position that you have to play and like every single smoke that you have to throw in this scenario and stuff like that. You could have like 50 different strats on a map, and like
you have to remember them. It's just written down.
That's what I'm saying. Like it just helps you so much if you have something in front that you can just quickly check and and see what you need to do in that specific situation, right? Like I don't see that as like cheating or any sort of like outside help or anything like that. I feel like that's like falls into the area of what should be allowed.
Back, forward, A, B, up.
Yeah.
Like
I think it's a bit longer than that, but okay.
Yeah, no,
we'll allow it.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, I don't see a world where I remember people wanted to have tablets available, and they're like, you can't have anything technologically based. Right? That's why the phones get taken over from the players and shit. But having paper, right? Having a book like that, unless there's something in the book, right? Like, can I flip through your book to make sure you don't have something like a little Tamagotchi hidden here or some shit? Okay, then cool, we're fine. Like, I feel like that should have been a non-issue. I've just messaged to see if I can get something that I can say. I might not even get a message while we're live, so we can update people next time round. But we try and get to the bottom of these things.
Or?
Yeah, about the strat book, because it's weird. It must. I honestly think.
I mean, I saw teams just having it in front of them anyway. So I feel like that there was
people
no
are
real
joking
problem.
like this is why NAVI isn't at IEM Winter and
strat books.
Because they have like everything printed out,
pages and pages,
color coded by Blade, and it's just like, boomage, look at that shit. Please call this strat. Thank you.
Yeah, and then they win. So everybody should be doing that going forward. Now let's jump into the event so far. All right. That's my little back pillow. All right. So IEM Winter, as Prof just said, no NAVI here. That's actually the big deal. I think the event can thank NAVI for not coming, because that's made the event more interesting than it probably would have been, right? It's actually given us some conversation points. Now, we had a bunch, but let's start with the Danes. Now, Heroic and Astralis, both a bit rough around the edges. I think for Astralis, you would expect the honeymoon period to come to an end at some point, but so quickly they just rode the high of that arena and then came into a sterile studio environment. At least a positive, by the way, is that all the games were played in studio environments, not in hotel rooms. So that right there is quite nice. But which one do you want to start with? Strike, I'll give this to you. You want to start with Astralis? You want to start with Heroic?
Let's start with Astralis, because I have something on top of my head about that, and that's particularly Config and his kind of disappearance, because that was like such a big turn from like the way that he showed himself at Blast, and everybody just kind of praising him for being like this. Like he was allowing them to go that far. Like it was basically a lot of his work that they managed to do so well at Blast, because he just like gave them so many opportunities, that they wouldn't otherwise have. They didn't get so many of these openings from him, and just in general, like so much impact. So like for him to suddenly disappear from event to event, was weird. I don't know if it could just be from like inconsistency and just not, not having the system really put in place, and it's just like a lot of pressure on him to make those plays and stuff like that. It's just, if you have an early team, like some of these inconsistencies can happen. Like you're just not going to have the playbook to fall back on if some of these like openings don't work and then things like that. So I'm not like, obviously, like that was the difference between Blast and this event, the big difference, I think, or the biggest one anyway. But I wouldn't say that's like what we should expect from Config from now on. I think like once they get a bit more time, he's going to have a bit more of a deeper play, or like Astralis are going to have a deeper playbook, more things to fall back on if Config isn't like at his top shape and just like giving the openings all the time and stuff. So I wouldn't be super concerned about Astralis, but definitely a big departure from like between the two events.
Oh, sure. Very contrasting between the two. Blame was sick as well.
Yeah, but he actually played well. I was sick during the first couple of days, so I didn't really catch the Astralis game. So I'm not looking at the stats. So Blame F 1.16 rating, Config 0.78.
Yeah, he was horrible.
Which is fucking ridiculous. That's like awful. That's like no one has that rating. That's like a disgustingly bad rating. And then the thing is, like, you go on to entry stats. His attempts are normal, 22%, which is like normal config level, I would expect. 23% success. So like they literally played 4v5 half of the time. So really weird.
Yeah,
definitely weird.
I think long-term projections is this isn't going to happen, like, again, as Striker was saying, but there's two versions here. The next event they go to, which is next week, right? Are they playing at the Global Finals?
I think they
so.
made it, right? They played.
Yeah, they made it.
Yeah, so
third.
Yeah.
If they're able to get in and kind of shake off the last performance and now have an average, they don't even need to have a good performance, just an average performance, I would say, is probably enough considering the field. Then yeah, I think they can probably continue to ride that for a little while. But I think that unfortunately there are too many potential issues with the constellation of the team that they will have the same level of success as the previous Astralis. And I know that's setting the bar like crazy high, but I think that just some of the issues that will crop their head up, like for example, if Glaive does not continue with the AWPing duty or gets disenchanted by the AWPing duty, then you're going to find the team in flux, right? It's going to be a question mark of, do they bring somebody into AWP? Or
do you actually believe that he's going to stick around with that? I don't see that being an actual thing.
I don't know. I think Lucky's really good performance over there at Copenhagen could have changed potentially the direction of the team going forward, because he played very well on the rifle and what they want to sell to everybody. It's like with these Nordic teams wanting to sell these narratives that we just have to buy into, is the fact that this is a decision that they want to do long term. Now, the skeptic in me doesn't buy into that.
No.
But the one that saw them play at Blast buys into it, right? Because I saw like the potential. Right. Obviously, it's the honeymoon period. It's the flux of having players playing on the AWP and they're not studied and this, that, and the other. But if I was to use like analyst brain Chad and not enjoying the entertainment brain Chad, analyst brain Chad reckons that this has probably got 3 to 4 months before it either like completely implodes or we do see some form of changes.
Even if Lucky actually is good on the rifle, which I'm kind of still doubting, like he had some good games, but anyone can have a couple of good games. I don't think Glaive can ever be a top tier opper. Even like the best thing he can do is like be a nitro level opper, and I don't think he can actually do that because that's not his style of play. Like he's a pretty aggressive player, so he has to be aggressive, and he's not a super skilled player. He's not going to be good on the op consistently over a long period of time. It's just going to be an issue for the team. I don't see it happen. Like Glaive cannot op more than 4 months. Like by March next year, he's not going to be opping. So even if Lucky's great on the rifles, they need a fucking op. So he's not going to stick around. That's just my take on this.
Yeah, I see the same way. Like if you think about what Glaive is the most known for, it's obviously in game leading. That's like that is pretty obvious, right? And like you can think about like how difficult it is sometimes to combine those two roles together. But that's not even my point. My point is like he's most known for like utility usage and playing around smokes and all the time. Like you're not going to do that with an op. It doesn't play into your strengths to play around utility. If you're playing the op, you're kind of like being more supported rather than you being the supportive element, right? Like outside of holding angles and stuff like that. So like it just doesn't play into his strengths in general, at least not so far. And then I kind of doubt that he would be able to reinvent himself to the level where they would actually have a top tier opera, because like obviously like today's meta, you kind of do have to have a top tier opera to
Well, he
be
said it
able
himself.
Yeah, exactly. Like he said it half a year ago when they lost Device and found themselves in this situation where they had Dupree and Glaive kind of like switching ops depending on maps, depending on sides, and that clearly didn't work, and they clearly were unhappy about, like actively unhappy about having to deal with it this way, and they were just like counting the days until they finally got to play with an opera, right?
The difference between his comments then and his comments now are just like tied to the duration of his contract with Astralis, essentially. Like he would never say, he's not going to say those things now when he just signed a four-year contract.
Yeah.
Because before he could do it, because that was a part of the whole back and forth. Like, you need to get me some good players. You need to give me a good salary. I'm not going to take this shit. I'm just going to leave, right? I'm Glaive. I must go to IGL. I can go anywhere. And now it's like I signed this contract, so it doesn't make sense for me to bury myself in this team and shit on the team that I'm stuck in for the next 3 years.
Yep. That makes sense.
Sorry, I'm messaging Lucas. Just let it I want him to change something, but we're good. We're good. No, I agree with that sentiment. I think we're all in the similar boat, but I think the problem is with the long term we're projecting right now, let's like in narrowing it on the short term, it's still too early to see what we're going to get out of them completely, right? It's still to know what, like, so I think that, yeah, they performed contrastingly to Blast, not as good, but I think that was the expectation that they're going to be a little bit in flux. And if you were putting too many eggs in the Astralis basket, then you're not really understanding how Counter-Strike works, right? So that right there is pretty straightforward. I think the other side of things with Heroic, however, this one here seems to sting a little bit more. They have next week to redeem themselves, right? Like it might not actually end up being the end of the world, but like it felt like they were just starting to get some traction, and then this happens, and they were one of the teams who, coming into this, I know that they said over at Blast that they felt that they were one of the teams who can beat NAVI. There's a difference between being able to beat NAVI and being the next best team, right? They're two completely different things. So with that right there, what do we make of this situation, boys, with Heroic? I still think they're a very good team, and I'm more than happy to give them a little bit more time. When the only loss here that I think is a bad loss is the loss to GODSENT, and that was in the best of one that threw them into the lower bracket. And unfortunately for them, FaZe also got upset in the opening round. So we meant that we had FaZe versus Heroic off the bat, and it never really should have been that way.
Yeah, I generally agree. I don't think, no, I didn't catch the GODSENT game, so I can't really
stream on Mirage, so that it makes sense you didn't see it.
I don't remember what was there at the same time, but it was kind of it's generally it's difficult to watch the entire tournament, like when you have setups like this, when you have two matches running at the same time, right? And I think I didn't see this one, so I can't tell like what the issue was there in particular, but I saw the FaZe series, and like that was just a really close series, that could have kind of turned on a couple of rounds, right? And Heroic had a very realistic chance to even win both maps, so like I wouldn't really judge them too harshly on that one. As far as I could tell, Stown was still at a really high level. I think Refresh was kind of off during this tournament, which I guess, I mean, he has been like the guy who has been kind of up and down, and when he's up, they usually do really well, and when he's down, they usually don't. So maybe that's a part of the reason why. But in general, yeah, I didn't see the GODSENT game. That was basically like the reason why they got into the situation in the first place.
Yeah, I think there might be a bit of fatigue creeping in for this team as well. Sure. They played a lot of shit, a lot of tournaments, going fairly deep in every single one of them. But like this result and the Blast result, not really great combo. And they have one more event to play. They're playing the Blast finals, right? The World Final.
Yeah, it's like $1 million prize money, That's it's a big one to close out the year.
I think they need to do kind of well there to solidify their position as a LAN team and all of this shit that's been going on. Are they a LAN team? No, they're not a LAN team. Yes, they are. Team. Yeah, but these results are not great. The results haven't been great overall. I think the major, yes, you can say that was pretty good, but what followed was pretty underwhelming. And I think for them, like for their mental state and just like the vibes inside of the team, they need at least like a top 3, top 4 finish at the last event of the year to be like, okay, you see, we can do this. Let's reset, and next year let's do some good shit.
That's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Really hard. NAVI, Vitality, G2, Gambit, Heroic, NIP, Astralis, Liquid. Like, with the
The
way
stacked
that
event, yeah.
the way that like Vitality and Liquid are playing a little bit more loosey goosey because of their status. You draw one of those, it's going to be hard. And it feels like if this was a double elimination bracket, which it is, depends on how they do the seeds, right? Do they how do Blast normally do the seeds? Do they get the teams to seed each other?
I actually don't know.
They get
I
the
think
teams
it
to
should
seed each
be.
other. It might be a bit weird.
I think
don't
it's just an HLTV seeding or HLTV ranking or something.
Well, if that's
I
the
mean, they
case,
also have
their opening
fun.
round would be versus Gambit.
Rough.
Fun times.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting matchup to have.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one for a while, I think.
Yeah, for me, if just to put a bow on this heroic situation, I don't think that they need to make any changes. I don't think that
No.
anything needs to happen. I think they just, take the end of the year, understand that it's been a tumultuous time. You've had some dramas, to really understate it. You've gone to LAN, you've had a couple of good performances. Your play style is pretty gambly, pretty in flux, and you do need your individuals to show up to be able to pull that off every time. And that's just what happened, right? I think here that it hasn't been the best year, but also hasn't been the worst year. So I think that they should be pretty content. Anybody else have any final thoughts on the heroic boys?
No.
Like, you good?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Well done.
Let's jump into Fnatic, undefeated in best of fives. So this team right here actually played quite a good tournament, I would say. Oh yeah, the scheduling issue. We can talk about this one now as well. So this one here, Lucas, I'm going to want to bring it up for you. But this here, obviously, a big discussion that I saw in the questions that were coming my way today were about why are ESL allowing a game to be played at 2 a.m. in the morning. I don't think anybody from the players to the staff to the event to the viewers to literally anybody on planet Earth other than somebody who wants to see others suffer wanted the game to go on so late. Is there a solution? Start the games earlier in the morning. Because, and unfortunately, Prof actually said what I should say, and I don't know if I am going to say that, Prof, but one of the conversations we've had on this show numerous times is about the length of matches and how they might be too long, and maybe there's a couple of things that we can do to address the length of matches. One of the things that we could do is not rehash that conversation because I'm fed up of having it and nobody seems to listen, which is fine. You guys can do what you want, but when you have a series, let's go through these. I won't link them to you, Lucas, but if you're quick fingers, you can maybe bring them up from the match pages. We had the game to kick off the day, which was Fnatic versus Big. It went 3 maps. The first was a 16-7. The second was a 16-13. And the third was a 19-17 overtime game. Let's move forward here. I believe that the next game on the B stream was Gambit versus FaZe. Wait, no.
I think they were going on at the same time, no?
Must have missed one here. No, were they going on at the same time?
Yeah, because they played together later, so...
Oh, yes, that's right. Then the one that went on the B stream, was Vitality versus G2, right? Which I think for a lot of people came to their surprise that why was Vitality G2 on that stream? I think it's because it was one of the last times we would have seen either Liquid or NIP because it was an elimination game. And we're going to get G2 versus Vitality, or those teams in the tournament again. Now, that series, after we just had the last one that had overtime as the last map, went 16-14, 16-14, 16-9. So another very long series. And then the final series of the day, which is the one that went extremely late at night, this is just for context purposes for everybody, literally went 19-16, 22-19, and 16-4.
But you also missed the Gambit side of that run as well.
Which was also a long,
because that was 16-13 on the first map, 22-25 on the second map, and 16-10 on the last one, which is essentially like a 4.5 hour best of 3 or something. When the thing is, like, CS has a lot of variance in terms of how long matches last. If it's a quick best of 3,
could actually go forever.
Yeah, quick best of 3 can be 2 hours, and then a long best of 3 can be 4.5 hours. So that kind of wrecks the schedule. And one of the things that some TOs can do is start matches super early. Number one, players don't like it. Number two, viewers don't like it because you want to do some other shit and you want to actually watch the match. And it's like, oh, why is this match so early? I have to work. I'm in school, blah, blah. So you want to be like, you have to put it somewhere in the middle. And the funniest thing, as you, Chad, you tweeted, I think, this is the same schedule that Blast had. In terms
I didn't
of,
tweet that. Someone tweeted that.
Someone did tweet that.
Yeah.
But essentially the same schedule as Blast had. Unfortunately, these matches are super long, overtimes and shit like that. One thing that you can maybe put on ESL is that they have these maybe a bit longer breaks, but these breaks are mostly they just add up in overtime games, and that is also connection to Twitch and connected to having ads and all of these
Sales
things.
and all that.
It's like it's a complicated, deep topic where it goes and where it starts, but it is why we have fucking 2 a.m. finish matches. It's nothing special in this case. It's a reasonable schedule that got fucked by super unreasonably long games. And this is also one of the reasons why you didn't actually see the players complaining about it. It's like, what the fuck can we do? We did play fucking 5 overtimes on Overpass this morning, so it's just going to be a long day.
I agree with Scrawny's sentiment. I think he tweeted this. It was either during the event here or it was last week during Blast after it had ended. But the fact that teams shouldn't be playing 2 best of 3s in a day, I agree with that sentiment. I don't know how we've slipped back in that 1 best of 3 and 1 best of 1 and then a best of 3 like they did on day 1. I don't have any issues with that, right? Because at most we're talking 4 maps. But to do 2 best of 3s a day with what you just said, Prof, with them potentially going for 4.5 hours, which I'm sure if we did the maths could happen for a couple of these here, it's too much, right? I think that's too much. And the level of concentration that is required to play tier 1 level Counter-Strike right now, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask out of anybody. I would love to put these like trackers on the players to see how many calories they were burning in that time. I just don't think that we should have a format that has 2 best of 3s in a day. For any given team, right? And we saw the issues with that Blast, where the teams that played 2 in a day didn't win, right? None of the teams that played 2 best of 3s in a day at Blast won a game. I think that was so. Just for multiple reasons, but the same thing, just to back Blast up here for a second, the reason that they changed the format so that there were there and there had to be multiple best of 3s in a day was so you as the fan and the viewer got to have every single team in the arena. So they made a decision so that everybody got the arena experience of their favorite team, right? Which
that's the thing. Format. You always have to balance like entertainment and competitive integrity. It's like something we constantly have to balance. And people say, "Oh, competitive integrity #1," and in that case, you just never have arena events, #1. Everyone, or if you have arena events, everyone's just locked in like on the side somewhere where there's no chance of cheating. You only do like 1 best of 3 per day, but then you actually have to like wait and have like massive breaks and stuff like this. It's like there's always a give and take there, and finding the perfect balance is just what we need to do, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where we can now pivot into the conversation about Fnatic. So they were eliminated very late in the morning, or very early in the morning, as it were, to Gambit. And that was the second time in the tournament that they played Gambit. They played Gambit in the opening best of 1 on Ancient, which they had lost. But then they put up a much better fight when they played within that best of 3. And I think seeing this team that we saw win the DreamHack Open, and they were looking very good online, very competent, all the parts seemed to make sense. They came to land. Crims had some bangers of games, right? Even games that they were getting like destroyed on. Crims was playing fantastically well. I think to see Smooya with this team, this is like the Smooya rebirth story arc. You know, he's coming out, going to be a beautiful little butterfly in this new team. Alex showing that he can in-game lead to a competent level to put all those naysayers that he was just Zywoo, to one side. Every little element here, Brolin, playing some good Counter-Strike again. This is through not just this event, but through the story of this new team. It's good to see. And Fnatic are a team, Fnatic are an org that you want to see at the top tier of Counter-Strike. They're an org that need to have, it's like VP. They're an org that need to have a top tier team in Counter-Strike. They're with CS. So what were your takeaways here, Striker? Did you have anything with Fnatic that stood out to you, or just more of the same patting them on the back type sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, I had my view of them tainted a little bit by that last series, and I'm not sure if I want to judge them too harshly on it because of how late it ran, because like the Vertigo, for example, that they ended up losing in overtime or whatever it was,
that
double overtime.
1v4 to Hobbit.
Yeah, that was one of those things. But in general, like that was such a messy map. Like that was incredibly messy from like, I don't know, like halfway through it to the end. Like it was like every other round was some extreme fuck up usually from Fnatic as well. Like I was actually shocked that they got as far as they did, considering how they looked. Like I did not think they would look that good at all in that Vertigo map. So like that's why my view of them was a little bit tainted, because like before that they obviously did reasonably well. Like they beat Ants and they beat Big, right? In a really close series. That was the other one. A little bit just somewhat concerning that Brolin wasn't up to the same level that we had seen him online, like kind of like slipping back and forth, having a couple of really good maps and a couple of maps where he just wasn't really a factor. And then Crims stepped up in like one of the series against Big especially, and then there was like Smooya had a really good start and then also slowed down. They kind of like took turns carrying the team a lot. So that's not necessarily something that you can consistently rely on, but in general, like it's still a good sign that you have like multiple people who can step up and who can take over games and win you games. So like outside of the Vertigo map and generally the Gambit series, I think that was just a weird. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think of Fnatic in that way because like there was so many. They look so disjointed on Vertigo in general. Like there was so many times where I caught somebody just be super ahead of the play and just like the team behind him not being ready to respond when he gets killed by like a pop flash or whatever. Like way too many situations that you would never see from a top team, where they get caught off and they just don't respond to plays as the top team should. So like it could be just down to communication. There's still a new team, stuff like that. Could also be just down to it running so late. This was like at 1:30 in the morning, or like 1:30 a.m. When this was happening. So there was a lot of factors in that that's why I'm saying I don't really want to judge them too harshly on that one map and even one series because they just kind of like ran out of steam by the time Overpass came out.
Well, and I think with that, right, I think that is a fair way to critique this. You then put on top of that Smuya only joined these guys on the 15th of October as well.
Yeah.
So it is still a relatively new project with all things considered right there. Now, if we were to shift that lens a little bit here, Prof, and we were to say, yeah, look, maybe you could say the context of the game or a couple of like teething issues, first time they're playing a LAN together, this, that, and the other. If you were to shift those goalposts a little bit and you were to kind of look in the future, how does this Fnatic roster weigh up for you? Do you think there's potential now for them to become a mainstay within the tier 1 teams?
I think like for now they get a passing grade. I kind of leaning to what I saw even from the big game as well. Sometimes like being just like super messy, just fighting all over the place, and that's also like Big doing it as well, which is kind of weird for Big to be like, oh, let's just fight Fnatic. Like I guess that's where Big is right now, kind of lost in their identity, what they want to do. But yeah, they looked okay. I'm not sold on like, oh, they're the future. They're like a future top 10 team, top 5 team. I'm not sold on that. Like top 20, definitely. Good pieces, as Striker said. All of them had their moments, which is good. We didn't see like, oh, this guy's super struggling, can't do anything. We saw the Crims like 3D bomb in a 16-7 loss, and that's also like that's good for Crims, but bad for the team, right? If he's dropping 30 and you're getting 7 rounds, that's your map pick as well. I think it was Inferno. That's kind of concerning. But yeah, in the end, they got eliminated by Gambit. They lost to Gambit in the first game. They lost to Gambit in the last game. Gambit should beat them, and that's it. End of the story. So I think they can be satisfied with the run. I think effectively this places them like top 8, so above the half of the teams at IEM Winter. So okay, like I don't know if they have anything more to play this year, but for these a month and a half or something that they had this exact lineup, I think it's good, and then continue on to next year to see where they can go.
Yeah, I think pretty content is how they should probably see this one here. We don't have Big as one of the topics, so what I want to do is I just want to go over to
not talk about
No, we can just pick up quickly. I just want to make a quick like I feel the sentiment that you guys were expressing here of Big taking fights a lot more. I think that's one of the things that Big has to do is go back to backing their individuals, because Syrison and Tabson are very good players. Like that's not even a question. I think Syrison showed in some of the games just how good he can be. He hasn't been consistently that level. We remember him from last year, but he showed this time those glimpses. I don't know if we're going to get enough firepower out of Tizian, Keto, and Gade combined. Unfortunately, I don't know. Like that's still, the jury's still out on that. But I think that is probably the way that they need to readdress things. Focus on their game and how they want to approach things, as opposed to being so prep heavy, which I think can actually get them a bit caught sometimes. Because I think like Keto can have pop-off moments. He doesn't need to have them all the time, but he can have them, right? We know Gade is a solid rifler. We know that Tizian is the hard support player. But I think one of the things is maybe getting lost in the upper echelons, the tier 1, more chess game of Counter-Strike, when you're too worried about like counter-stratting and tendencies and finding holes. It can come back to bite you a bit, right? So interesting to see what happens with Big now.
I have one thing to say about Big. If you're finishing it off, there was this tweet from Lens from Big
JK
with like
not joining them
with different flags, and I got baited by this as well. But it's not the CS team. It's not even about the CS. So
League of Legends.
This happened to me a couple of times already, and then of course Lens, being the troll that he is, he trolled the shit out of me for like 10 minutes in DMs, and then is like, this is not a CS team. I'm like, thank you. I will be leaving now and not talking about this ever again.
I thought it was so funny that like I thought it was such an obvious bait that I just like I just had fun with like seeing Reddit just like go wild with that one.
I
I
messaged him and I didn't even say like this is big. I thought he was doing this about some other team, and I'm like, okay, this could be interesting. Like there's Australian, there's like a whatever fucking Dutch player, and some Germans. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
I mean, I saw the Reddit thread, and like the actual guy who made the thread said something like, I think 90% this is the guy Fasher from like fnatic. And
it's Chris
like,
J going back.
How the fuck?
How did we get here?
Are you getting this? Like, it could not even be like the actual CSGO team. You know, it's just like, Jesus Christ.
This was me last night at 11:24. Yo, Big hasn't messaged you, right? Justin, nah, why that? And then I just went on to inform about the tweet. So just want to make sure everybody out there who might be interested in a anchor rifler from Australia, he's still out there. He's still out there. So just want to make that one clear. You know, agent chat in the building. Now let's move forward to a team here that maybe they want a JKS. I don't know. OG. Unfortunately, 2 consecutive years, right? 2 consecutive years that we've had. We found ourselves in a scenario where we sit here and go with OG, like, well, it feels like they're pretty good, and it feels like they have a good understanding of the game and the way they want to approach it, but the results don't back that up. And they found themselves in that position again with a roster that I actually think is pretty tidy. Valda, Nico, Flames, and Mantu, great. Those last 2 names I think are fantastic, and Alexi B is the in-game leader. What is the problem right now with OG? What do they need to do to solve it? Or are we looking at more changes happening again? Because we know this team likes to stick with their roster and try and work things out. Can you guys pinpoint this? What the drama seems to be over here?
Honestly, I don't know. Like,
I don't know either.
Like the thing is, like 6 months ago when they made this change, or ish, I don't remember when exactly they got the 2 new players, right? I thought like this was the point where they'd start getting good, right? Like they would be maybe like a stable top 10 team, make a couple of playoffs, you know, just like be solid, maybe a top 4 or something, like reach a final, maybe win some smaller event. They've just really not lived up to that potential, and I mean, I don't even know why. Like that's the thing. I look at that team and I feel like they have the right pieces, but they don't always deliver when they should be. Like for example, Flames at this event was pretty off. I didn't see him pop off in any of the maps that they played. And like obviously they're going to rely on some of these players for sure. So like that's one of those problems. Like he's still young. Like you don't want to judge the guy for just, you know, playing a half a year at this level and stuff like that. But like obviously if you have inconsistent pieces, that's going to be an issue. And if you don't have anybody else kind of like stepping up to make for that, that's also going to be a problem. But like looking at those games, it doesn't even feel like they have missing pieces. You know, it's just like they just lose games, and I don't know why.
Weird. I don't have an answer. Do you, Prof? You got anything?
I don't know. I think we have to look at the core of the team because they've been together for 2 years almost now, and they made some changes. 2 years, right? Before Corona came in.
Their first event was
Ice
2019. Oh, was it? They played 2019 at Summit, right?
Yeah, late 2019. So it's 2 years now. So you have to think about like it's Valde, Alexi B, and Mantu,
the big man,
and
team.
as the coach as well. Even though how big of an impact can the coach actually have? I think those 3 like has to be between them. Do we think Mantu isn't good enough? I feel like Mantu is even a guy that you could plug into G2 right now, and he'd be a good fit for what they need. Maybe he's not super carry upper. Maybe sometimes he doesn't have these. He has these games. I feel like maybe like even Shiro like, but less impactful sometimes. They're just like you feel like he doesn't even exist on the server, and then whatever he gets 10 kills. And the action happens somewhere else. But I don't know. Valde, good player. I think
he was their highest rated at this event.
I don't think you can blame him as, this is the problem for the team. Like, especially the roles that he plays. Sometimes he isn't like the super bitch of the team, but sometimes he plays like bitch roles as well. And then you have Alexi B as the in-game leader and both as the individual player. Like, this is a guy, if nothing changed, like Alexi B plays connector on Mirage, right? You don't go into connector on Mirage and have a 1-0 rating. You have to do better than that. So from an individual perspective, also he plays this like aggro, whatever, I'm doing whatever the fuck around the map, like Hampus does, and like Alex to a degree before, and this type of a thing where he is an IGL that needs to frag. And fragging wise, not that amazing. And I think maybe even calls, maybe not that amazing. So I think it has to be maybe some criticism hit his way for this team, because he's the key piece of the fucking team. He's deciding who they pick up. And some of these signings, okay, maybe Flames isn't bit or whatever, but overall, I say he plays okay. This event, pretty trash, yes.
He had a hard time this event.
But some other events he plays well, and is that the be it what?
Be all and end all?
Yes, exactly. Like, I don't think we can just say, oh, if Flames plays bad, then fuck the whole team. We're going to lose to everyone. That doesn't make sense for the rest of the pieces on the team.
Do we put any stock in the fact with these G2 murmurs? Do we think that maybe could have had a bit of a negative impact on some of the team? I don't know if there's any validity in this. I genuinely have no idea if these Alexi B rumors are real. I don't even know where they started. I don't know if there was a Nell report. I'm not sure.
From what I heard, it was more like from the org side. It was like an inquiry thing.
The G2 looking.
It's not like Nico like calling up Alexi is like, go join the team. It's more like G2 like, okay, how much for Alexi? Is his contract up soon? I feel like that's kind of what it was.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of these rumors, they will just kind of like sprout out of just talks between orgs, and then just like looking at opportunities, and seeing what's possible. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're like deep in like trying to get this player to actually buy him out, and just like, this is the key piece that we're looking for. A lot of the time they would just go to another org and say, okay, these are the two players that we kind of maybe consider, what do you want for them? If we were to negotiate a buyout, where would we start? Like, what's the starting point? How could we negotiate it, right? And that's like how often like these things get out, and like people take it a little bit too far. I think that's what happened with a team like Liquid and Vinny.
Yeah.
That was also one of those things that I think it was just more like Liquid are just like trying to see what was possible, who was available, and like who they could buy out, because there was a lot of pieces that they were potentially missing, right? If NAF didn't re-sign, there would have been 3 players that they needed, right? So 4 players even. Am I crazy?
Would have been a Liege. Yeah, and everyone else would have been gone.
Yeah,
at least plus 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously, like,
and a Dren.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, in terms of players, so obviously, like, they needed to ask a lot of people about like what what was out there and what was possible. So it's just like people need to be a little bit careful about it, believing everything that they hear from like some of these rumor mills, because a lot of it will just be very early talks and just like inquiries.
Yeah.
Exactly. Here's the thing: kassad to OG as coach.
A coaching change. See, that's the thing. Like,
give him 6 months and see how it goes.
But well, that's the next thing is like, okay, well, where does the blame lay? Maybe the org wants to change the coach, see if there's a different direction of the team. It feels like Alexi's a pretty outspoken in-game leader, though. I'm not saying that Rugger doesn't have reins or anything, but I would say that Alexi gets to kind of call the way he wants to call. Maybe that would change with kassad in the team. I don't know. But that's another option right there. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I think that there's good pieces in this team, and it's a bit of a shame that it's not functioning highly. Maybe Counter-Strike is really all about the language, right, Striker? Anyway, looking at the next set of teams, Gambit and GODSENT making top 6. Let's do GODSENT first, and then we will do Gambit. Now, we had the opportunity to speak to Taco on the show not that long ago, and he told us everybody AWPs, and I think we got to see at this event, everybody definitely does AWP. So it was good to see them in the foray of the tier 1 teams and getting to see what they had to offer. Obviously, some unique takes on the way that they like to approach the game. You got to see some good stuff out of all the individuals in different matches. One of the key points for me is I think Taco is fragging. I don't think the stats back it up, but at a level that I think was much higher than when he was on the way out the door of his earlier teams. So it is curious to see that. I think like Dumau left a pretty good taste in my mouth. I think there was probably some good stuff from Barton at certain points. Latter, like, they all contributed, and I think this is great, right? The sentiment with GODSENT is they performed above everybody's expectation, and I think they're a team to look out to see how much they can evolve in the future, because I think they were the youngest team, or one of the youngest teams at the entire event. What's your sentiment, Striker, with this mob?
I was definitely surprised to see them beat Heroic again. I didn't see the series, so I don't know why. I don't know what they did so well. Like, just looking at the stat, Lotto was just a beast, clearly, like with 29 or something kills. So when I was checking it just before the show, so like that's a key victory, because like we can look at big and obviously like see problems and just like see them not really have a proper identity. So like that's obviously a win that they could have taken. as GODSENT. So like I wasn't looking at that too much, but in general, they also were in a position where they should have beaten Virtus Pro. Like that was at least on the first map anyway. Like that was also a a really positive sign, because some of these teams are really hard to play, especially if you don't have experience playing against them. Like both Heroic and Virtus Pro have just like awkward play styles that you're just not going to meet like every day of the week when you're playing against like tier 2 teams and stuff like that. These are very, very unique teams that you kind of have to know what you're doing against to win against them. You know, it's like the Heroic are really dynamic and just react to plays like really quickly, like on in like matter of seconds. And BP in the meantime, you just have to be really careful about not pushing into them and just like giving them openings that they would otherwise not get it unless they push into you and things like this. Like you really need to know how to play against these teams to beat them. So to see them play well against them, I think that was the big takeaway for me. Because this is a young team. Like I didn't know what to expect from them. Like sure, they made it to the next stage of the major and they didn't really do well there, but you know that was good enough, I guess, for a team that's existed for this year, and like half of the, or not even half, like 3 of the players have never been in this position before.
Yeah.
So like impressive stuff overall. I mean, they've just been on this upwards trajectory, right? Like they've been qualifying for these events, and now
All
they've
the
actually
stepping
taken.
stones.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is super impressive for like an up and coming team. Like this is exactly what they should be doing. Like sometimes you see like some of these teams just pop off and just like go to a final of an event, but then just drop away. But with this team, you just see the kind of like the consistent improvement. Like they've gone from like not really doing anything to just like going to top 4 to some of these tier 2 events, then qualifying for the tier 1 events, and now they've actually done something at a tier 1 event. Taking a best of 3 win, taking some of these top teams to really close maps. So yeah, nothing bad to say about them.
Yeah.
It's only up and up, right, Prof? But the question is, do you expect this to continue, right? From what you've seen, you think they're just going to keep going from strength to strength? I think that there was reports that I had that they were pretty nervous in some of those games where it got close, like especially the youngsters, right? Visibly nervous.
I don't know about that. Didn't really notice it, but it's a good trajectory. And when you compare it to some of these other teams that we had, Brazilian teams playing European events, like international events over this year, like the Pains and Team Ones and stuff like that. Those guys came in, they got eliminated, came back next time, nothing changed, right? And for GODSENT, they now, especially because they got these streak of events, and to be honest, they got a lot of opportunity to boot camp in Europe as well, even early on. They're just building from it, and this is like the perfect time to have some good results before the end of the year, because otherwise, if they didn't do anything at all of these events, then probably you'd expect like some roster changes, whatever. But they qualified for Pro League, they got this, and now they have like a good level to build on into next year.
Yeah, so I think GODSENT a pretty positive review, I guess. Big thumbs up, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's
sure.
get into this one now. Prof, I will give you the soapbox for this one if you want to stand on top of this one.
My favorite team.
Gambit. A lot of people calling them Gambotz.
What are they saying?
Yeah, the people at home, they don't think that old boys Gambit are living up to their namesake here, Prof. What do you have to say to those naysayers?
I mean, you can maybe say that the results aren't like, oh, we're a top 2 team in the world, which is essentially what they're gunning for at these last events. Like, I think Nafani, said it's like, we want to prove that we're the second best team like of this year. And it could be just slightly underwhelming in terms of their results, but it's not like they bombed out of anywhere. Like people say like, oh, they didn't do well at V4. Like, okay, they had like a couple of early group stage kind of rough matches, and then they won the event. Like, what the fuck do you want? Like, is this now going to be the measurement for Gambit? They cannot lose a single map to anyone, and no maps can be close. Like, what is this? They won the event. They got there. They beat everyone. Shira MVP. Job done, right? They bagged the like $150,000 or whatever it is for first. And people are looking at that like being a bad result. Like, it's not a bad result, right? It's not. Then they have this event. They finish top 6 again, just like in Cologne. They have land games. They play well on land. They don't crumble under pressure. They play a lot of overtime games. They play against
comeback
FaZe. They play against fnatic. Oh, wait, if Gambit or Gambotz, what are FaZe Clan, the land buff team, which can't beat them? What are they then? No one is talking about that, right? That makes no sense. For me, they're pretty good. Could they be better? Yes. Exile has kind of course corrected. This event, Hobbit wasn't that great. I don't know what his final rating was, but I know at some points it was like, it's not really amazing. But then we had like Inter stepping up. Shiro is fucking amazing. He's clutching like a fucking madman. And then I guess one of the weak points as well is Nafani. Like when you compare him to online, he was much better in terms of like finding space, getting kills early on, opening up rounds. So that's a thing that also other teams are adapting to, and maybe he needs to adapt his play to land a bit more. But they're a pretty good team. I don't know if they're the second best team of this year. We'll maybe kind of finalize that when everything's concluded. But I think they're playing quite well. I don't know. They're definitely not bots.
You didn't get as passionate about this as I was setting you up for, mate. I thought you were going to get going. But
no, I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I understand a bit of it, right? So it's not completely
unfounded.
Yeah, there are some points that are true, but they're a pretty good team. Like, which teams are that much better for like compared their results to anyone else who is more consistent? Maybe G2 over the last couple of months, but other than that, no one else, right?
Yeah. I think my biggest issue with this is calling them onliners when it is 4 players of a 5-man team who are having their first time experiencing LAN under these conditions in this environment and expecting them to perform exactly as they did online, right? That's where I take the biggest issue.
And
There's going to be... Yeah?
Yeah, it's not even... That's...
Well, that's the fact that they drop off.
Yeah, exactly. That they went online and just started dropping off. People had already caught up to them before that, so like that definitely played a part in it. There's no way it didn't. So like people had just like learned a bit more about how they play and caught up to them, and that's where you find out if you are one of the best and if you're going to be able to keep your place at the top, because like once people catch up to what you're doing and learn how you play, learn some of your tendencies, you have to come up with new stuff and just like make sure that you don't stay stale and make sure you come up with new things, new approaches to the game. So if you stay the same way, people are just going to expect what you're doing, right? So like that's like the next level, and that's not, not every team has that next level.
Not everybody recovers from that.
Yeah, exactly. Not every team finds it immediately. Like they're going to take a while before they can get back on top, but they're still being a very competitive team. Like there's no doubt about them still being able to pretty much beat anybody in the world on the right day. Like that's just it's just that they don't have these right days all the time.
I think something here that is pretty clear, and build off what you're saying, like the tendencies, Nafani is the initiator for the team. He only has so many moves. It's like JW back in the day. You only have so many moves. They need, right? This to me seems pretty clear. They need somebody else who can find them space and make them space. It can't just be Nafani, because if he gets shut down, then they lose so much, right? It's kind of like Furia with Art, when it was just Art who would go in and he would be like, yeah, but if I die, it's okay. We have like an execute plan behind it or some shit, right? Like that's all good and well, but you can't operate at a 5v4 disadvantage every single round. So I think somebody else to help find them openings here, and maybe if Axel starts to feel more comfortable on land, and they can set him up for more openings, or if Hobbit literally just has to take the game by the balls and be that guy to go and do it, then yeah, whatever. I also a little bit curious with Finn not being there. Somebody linked me, I spoke about it during one of the casts, and somebody linked me an interview. I think it was Groove with Senya at the Major. And I didn't actually watch it, but the sentiment that was given, and I should watch it, I should go back and make sure, was that they're sticking with Groove for now because there's a different way into which they communicate and address the game with Finn as opposed to Groove. And obviously they couldn't use Finn at the Major, right? Because he's banned. So there's, I don't think they released him. I'm not 100%, like I'm not inside the little bubble just there of what's going on within the team at that element. But I do think that there needs to be a handover period, because Groove can't do this forever. He can't run the fucking whole organization and coach the Counter-Strike team, right? So I think there might be something there with the coaching. There's also these guys on LAN, there's a lot of things there, right? And I think that they're, someone just said Groove is their permanent coach. That's interesting. That conflicts with what was in that interview. I could be wrong, right? I'm not going to die on this hill. This isn't a hill that I need to go to war over. But
there's
we need to find a different hill.
There's a good comment in chat about like Rookie of the Year. I mean, of course, like Esports Awards does their own whatever shit, but who cares? Not really an actual people discuss thing.
Man, I won 2 awards. Don't take those away from me.
I forgot about that. But like, of course, Bit won that. But like Shiro and all of these Gambit kids are in the same boat essentially. Like, of course, they were playing CS before this, but Bit was also playing CS before this. We're talking about like your first year on the top level. Gambit started late in 2020, and then into 2021 was the first full year. Bit also joined NAVI around the same time. He was like the sixth player, right around October 2020. I think like you can say that Bit is fucking insane, but he is also not the main player of that team. Like if you look at what Shiro did this year, I think you could even say that he's the better rookie for this year. I don't know what you guys think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I generally think that could have been more of a discussion, just because of also Bit. There's a lot of recency bias with Bit because he's been amazing like these last few months, but it's not like he was great like the first 6 months or so of
I mean,
his time
he
in
only
Navi. Like, he
actually joined
good.
in April, I think.
Yeah, of course. But he like even when he was playing, like when he started playing, like on a couple of maps, he was okay, but he wasn't great. Then when he went full time with the team, like he was a decent player, but he wasn't the Bit that we know now. Like he wasn't the Bit that we saw at the major, like not even close. So like there's a lot of recency bias around Bit for sure, because he's like that's kind of like the latter half of the year where we've seen him flourish and not necessarily the first part. So like yeah, Shiro has been way more consistent. There could have definitely been more of a discussion there.
Yeah, that's why you guys do the awards.
Right. I mean, look, let me tell you, like Shiro's, unless Bit, I'm not even gonna say because I don't actually know.
Don't spoil the top 20.
Yeah, I'm just imagining.
Better not say.
No, look, I don't even know like where either of these players will fall, but I would imagine Shiro is going to be way higher on the list than Bit because Shiro's has been amazing this entire year. Yeah, like he's been a top player at a top team.
MVPs.
What's right?
3-4 MVPs for Shiro.
Yeah. That's also a big part of it, right? So, like, I think there's no discussion around who was the better player of the year.
Yeah, we'll find out come early next year, I suppose. There, are we happy to leave that and talk about the top 4 now?
Let's do that.
Okay.
We actually didn't do any of the games. Like we skipped the quiz as well.
We can do them in playtime.
Yeah, let's do that later.
We'll do them in playtime. Sure. This is gonna be a long show, everybody. So we'll do them in playtime. Okay,
there's not that much to go off anymore, but it's all good.
Mate, you should see the fucking Google Doc with all the questions that Prof's compiled.
Answering all of the questions this time.
Every single one. We won't miss a single one. Top 4, G2, VP, Vitality, NIP. I think we don't have to go too crazy in depth here. I think some of the stuff we can skim over a bit. Like G2, for example, they have Kenny playing.
Can I just start? Okay, I'll start this off, right? Because we've been thinking about like we were thinking of doing like semifinal previews because there's like so much time left lead up to the actual matches that we just thought we should do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, but I was thinking like that we should just do like kind of like a whole preview of like these 4 teams and who has like the best chance of win, something like that, something of that sort, like more of an angle on like who has the best chance to win. And if you look at these 4, this is such a weird semifinals teams, man. Like this is so all over the place because it's basically 2 fully dead teams in Vitality and G2. NIP, who's like been struggling with S-Attack and just like really trying to find their place and seeing like if that team is any good. Virtus Pro, who has just changed and is kind of like seen as the most stable team of the 4 because they've just stuck at least with most of the players and they're not expected to do any more changes moving forward, right? So like VP are the only like legit team out of these 4 right now, which is just weird, you know, to see at an event.
I want to do a bit of a spoiler here for everybody. This is for you guys only. HLTV listeners only. At the start of the event, the winner who we event.
You're cutting out, by the way.
Oh, I'm too quiet. All right. Well, everybody can hear me, even you in the back. At the start of the event, we pick a winner who's going to win the whole thing. I picked VP. Okay. So I'm feeling pretty fucking smug about things now, looking at the way the bracket is, because I think they're the ones who are pretty well set here to win the whole thing. But yeah, I agree with your general sentiment of the bracket. It is a bit, it's rough as guts, as we would say. It's got a face like a dropped pie, or another fun one, a face like a smashed crab. There you go. Jump in.
Yeah. One way you could look at this is potentially like G2's best chance to win an event in I don't know how long. Like I'm just saying, like if you look at this playoffs bracket and just in general, like what teams are in there and like what the circumstances are, like they could easily beat an IP. Like there's no question about it. Like that's 100%. And then there's, I mean, the bottom part is definitely stronger. Like Vitality have been doing really well. despite the rumors and despite the situation that they're in. And Virtus Pro are just a stable team, right? Like we do expect them to be competitive, right? But like they will reach the final and they will have a chance there.
Yeah.
G2, or they can definitely
Well, they
reach the
should.
final and they have
They
a chance
should.
there. Yeah, even should.
Now,
Right.
this is the thing. I don't mind if we talk all over the place. Like, we don't need to talk too much
Yeah.
about the performances and all these things because the keys here are a little bit different, right? Like, what are we gonna say if we talk about Vitality? You want us to talk about Zawu some more? Is that what you guys at home want? Because
Exactly.
there's no point us talking about that. But one thing we can say, Jonas, I hope you're watching. Can we stop the games? Can we stop the games? The language is something that we know is an issue within the team.
Yeah.
Esatag has said it's an issue within the team. It's okay. We can be friends. We can say the language is an issue. Esatag is still an upgrade from LNZ, right? But we just need to be honest with each other, guys. We need to be honest with each other. As I go purple now, the purple cam of honesty, we call this one here. But we need to just talk to each other because for us to talk about it actually helps you. If we say, yeah, there's a language issue, right? Was it a great decision to bring him in knowing there was a language issue when the season? Well, that's debatable. But the way that we talk about NIP, right? If there is shortcomings, then we go, wow, there's a language issue. Esatag, he's going to work hard. He's going to fix it because he's that type of guy. He will fix it. I guarantee it. But the other side of the coin is if you don't, and there's no problems, and then you perform badly, we have to critique you hard.
Yeah.
So you're setting your team up to be put in the crosshairs. Let's go the other way. Let's frame NIP this way. The team this entire year has not had a consistent roster. You bring Device in, he has to play with 2 individuals who are from the academy team. That's not the way to set up a championship level team. That's not a way to have your players feel consistency. That's not something that is going to work well with them, right? So, okay, we can use that to your advantage. We can say, oh, well, they haven't been able to find that key piece, but now Esatag's available. They found him. They brought him in. He's a great glue man. You know, he's somebody who, once he is acclimatized with the language, will be able to help micromanaging Hampus, who is a hyper-aggressive in-game leader, who has said it's difficult for him to call when he goes for all these aggro moves and micromanage the rest of the team on the rest of the map. That's good. We can use that. We can say these are problems with NIP. And then now when you make it to the semifinals, if you let us say that Esatag is having issues with communication, then it's good. It's like, oh my God, they're having communication issues, but they made the semifinals, right? We can do that. We can frame it differently. But if you go the other way and we pretend there's no problems and we close our eyes and we want to pretend that you guys are geniuses over there with the decisions you're making, then we have to be harsh. We have to be dicks. We have to be mean.
It's unfortunate because, like, essentially what NIP doesn't want to do is go and say, like, we actually couldn't sign the players that we wanted to. And so we had to sign a stack. So we have to, like, eat shit for a bit. And maybe it turns out well, because that is essentially what happened. Like, if you ask me, he wasn't their first pick. If you look at Crims, what Crims has been doing in Fanatics, like, fuck, this could be nice on NIP. If you look at Dupree, like, he's speaking a bit of Swedish, like he apparently, according to sources, Freiburg or whatever who was on the show, it's like, this would be a nice fit as well. But yeah, you have a player that could maybe be okay on the team, could be a nice fit, but not right now. So
I mean, this is a weird conflicting approach, right? Because, like, you kind of don't want to put so much pressure on your team by saying some of these things that there's no problems, you know, because that puts a lot of expectations on them from the outside. That puts a lot of pressure on the team. But at the same time, you don't really want to admit that there's issues because of partners and stuff like that. And, like, that the team isn't as great as you would hope it to be, right? So, like, it's just like, I hate it because, like, I'd rather just fucking learn what's going on inside the team rather than just, you know, have to guess at it and just, like, get different information from different pieces from the team and stuff like that, right? So I'd rather if people were just a little bit more honest about what's going on. But yeah, whatever. It's just going to be the same thing no matter what we say. So,
well, they have a whole week now to prepare, right, for their semifinal. So there's no reason that they couldn't win against a G2 that has a stand-in, right? That they almost equal each other out. I don't think that Esatag Swedish is going to get better in 5 days. Like, not noticeably better in the server, but also they could prepare really hard. They could come in with a really good game plan of their own. It's going to be difficult to prepare for a team
G2.
like G2, right, who are in flux here. So as far as
one
that goes,
thing though,
yeah,
fucking Kenny S fans, man.
Well, I
I
love Kenny. How can you not love Kenny?
No, but I love Kenny as well. I could say that I'm myself a Kenny S fan, but
Okay,
these
Kenny S
people,
fan.
You're a realistic Kenny S fan.
but yeah, but the delusional Kenny S fans, which are 90% of the Kenny S fans, everyone wants to take that username on HLTV. You already taken, of course. It's like, oh, he's gonna be so good he's not going to be so good. He hasn't been good. He's been not disgustingly bad. He's been
He was out for 9 months.
Under average. Great. Like all of these people are spamming, oh, it's going to be so good. It's like, are you actually for real? I actually heard people that are not completely like complete plebs saying like, oh, it's going to, I believe, like completely sold on the Kenny S hype. It's like, please, I don't think even Kenny S believed he would be great. He was like, I'll just try to be not shit. And he did that. So props to him, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think for him, the lack of expectation of him could be good, right? I think we heard from him in one of the post game interviews or something that he was pretty nervous about things, which is understandable when you've been out for 9 months. That does make a lot of sense, right? And you're coming in now to a team that was just in the major grand final. So there is a lot of expectation on you, and the fact your name is Kenny S, right? One of the most prolific AWPers that we have ever had in Counter-Strike. So there's a lot going into that right there. But I think if we frame G2, because I'm being kind to NIP in the way that I just framed what they could do, right? You have Device, you have Rez, who is having a better tournament than he did over at Blast, right? You have Hampers. There's always a chance with NIP, right? I thought that NIP Magic was dead. Apparently they're manufacturing it through chance alone here. But on the other side, G2, perfect storm for them, right? They have the confidence of knowing there's such a good team and they have really good individuals. Nico is playing some of his absolute best level Counter-Strike. And then around him, you have Aminex changed positions back to what Nex is doing. So now Kenny takes the AWPing role. So Aminek, unfortunately, again, continues to change up his play style for the betterment of the team. You likely have Nico doing the calling. I learned today from Jax that he's doing the pistol rounds. So like you have all these different elements going on within the squad, right? And this team right now, with the pressure that's gone off themselves, the fact they made it to the top 4, they're probably content with that, but there's no reason they can't win the event either, right? This is the situation we're in, where we have 4 teams who all could win the event. It means different things to different teams, right? So I think the G2, just based off of what they've achieved, their system's still there. One of the things they don't have is their coach, and Malik with them. He's gone now. Swanee's here with them in the building. So that's a difference maker right there for G2 as well. But just on them, like they seem like they're having a great time, right? And that's good. Yeah. This is probably a really good event for them just to kind of relax a little bit and have some fun with things. So I think for G2, I would like to see them go into the final, because I would like to see, like, imagine if they get there, Kenny gets an extra 5 days to play a deathmatch and looking good on the AWP, and then bang, Kenny on the AWP, and then Prof can become the delusional Kenny S fan again and maybe not be so delusional, right? So I've got a little bit of like this event, right? Like,
it's just so weird.
Yeah,
man. Like it's so weird.
It's like, it's whatever.
That's sort of like nobody's going into this event and like putting shitloads of pressure on them to do really well. Maybe like Gambit, you could look at Gambit. They probably
and Heroic.
Maybe Heroic, yeah. But like out of these teams who actually did make it this far, like Virtus Pro, I guess you can make an argument for, because like they are the team with the pressure on, because everybody around them is shit, or just like in a shit position.
They've got pressure in the playoffs, yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on them in the playoffs. Like out of all these 4 teams, they're the only ones who do have pressure on them now. Because NIP, they've done already okay enough for like the situation they're in. They're fine. Yep. G2 don't give a shit. They're changing, like they have Kenny S and they're changing the team anyway in the next year. Vitality are just apparently. I mean, come on.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know for sure who's leaving, who's coming in, but they're changing some things for sure. Like I don't even know what it is exactly, but I just know
we've got so much conviction on this stuff, don't we? We're just, the thing is,
we've been saying it for half a year, but like we all know it's been leading up to it for a long time. So it's got to happen now.
What if they beat G2 at the global finals next week?
G2?
Sorry, how did they beat NAVI?
To be honest, G2 is G2's biggest problem. So
true. But yeah, that's just like what's weird about this. Like G2 are just like zero pressure. Vitality has zero pressure. They're just like playing whatever they want, right?
They still want to win. Just
yeah. No, I'm not saying they don't want to win, but it's almost good for especially G2, who I think have had some of these mental issues where just like there's a lot of pressure on them because there's a lot of expectations, and now that nobody really gives a shit, they've just like are playing kind of like not really a mixed style. They're still playing with some sort of a system, but obviously like Nico is calling now, and just like a different system. Like Kenny S is suddenly in the team while Amonic is also in the team. So like Amonic is just like going back to more of the rifler role that he had before, sometimes hopping, right? So it's just like the entire team just works entirely differently compared to the last event. So they just don't really care. And so like that's the weirdest part about this whole event in general. Like there's just 2 teams who care about this event, and everybody else is kind of like in flux.
I want to just use this as a springboard just to quickly talk about something. We mentioned it a couple of episodes ago. I want to mention again for all of you at home, once more, we need to inform you better. So I want you to listen. I want you guys to listen. Everybody open your ears. I saw some questions today about why the major isn't the final event of the year. The major should be the final event of the year, but it is not the final event of the year because back a couple of years ago, the players were contacted about when they thought the best window would be for majors, and they decided to be in the middle of the seasons. That would be the best because they didn't want it to be at the end of the seasons because they'd be too burnt out.
Fatigue and whatever.
Yeah, so that just means that that's bad management of events, right? To me, that makes sense to have the majors right before the player breaks in the middle of the year and right before the player breaks for Christmas. And I hope that if people are listening at home, that you guys can use your influence to encourage the players to use their influence, to encourage Valve to use their power to move the majors in the future to a window of time that makes sense. Because right now, with this situation of teams having to play these events with this, that, and the other, and we're going, it's a weird bracket. We want to avoid this. We want this to be the pinnacle, and then we want it to stop, and then we want to start, and then build up again. We don't want to have this type of scenario go on down.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said that Hunter said they won't change their rooster.
But there was kind of like there was an interesting word there that I think was maybe a bit of a slip from Hunter because he said yet. There was like a yet somewhere in there,
There was an article, and then there was an article with the full interview, and then you read the full interview and you see he said we don't have any plans yet, and then the guy was like, oh, so are you changing your roster? It's like, oh, we're not changing our roster for now, something like that. And then that for now part is just not in the headline, and people lose their minds.
If anything, it should have been in the headline because that's the hint that they will change at some point soon.
Yeah. I wouldn't take too much from that.
Yeah, exactly. That's just I think it's kind of like an open secret that they will be changing. Same with Vitality, that there's an actual report there. I think with G2 there's just not as set in stone as who will even be leaving the team, let alone joining them, because there's just a lot of teams are in flux right now. A lot of players are just looking for opportunities, and a lot of organizations are just asking for a lot of players. So there's been the G2 Monacy rumor from Nell forever now. He's been reporting on it for 4 times about the status of things and the negotiations and stuff like that. And the latest is that they've agreed on a buyout, but not necessarily all the clauses or whatever. So there's just still a lot of delay on that one. So obviously there will be some changes. We just don't know what they will be and when they will happen exactly.
They're dealing with G2, who loves an interesting clause in the contract. I don't know if you guys saw over there with the League of Legends stuff. I don't know the players' name.
I don't know if that's even true. I know a lot of people say it, but I don't know if that's.
I think it was true. I think Riot came out and said we're not going to enforce this. Do whatever the fuck you want. I think. Yeah. So anyway.
I think it was we'll leave it for now, but in the future it won't work. Something like that. I think that was the ruling. Okay. But who do you think is going to win the event then? I have an interesting stat from I stole it from SEO on Twitter. He pointed out James' death per round stat.
Yeah.
Can you guess it?
Yeah, it was 0.45 or something.
What did you say, Sponge?
0.55?
No, it was 0.38.
Oh my god.
Oh.
And the second best is Kicker at 0.54, and
he doesn't die.
And Shiro 0.57. So 0.57 is very low. That's this is amazing. So
how long was Jesus in the grave for before he came back to life?
Was it 3 days or something?
3 days?
I don't know.
Yeah. That makes sense. 0.38 was it? Whatever. We're close.
Nice try. I'm just saying that's fucking amazing. But yeah, I see a G2 win. I see a Virtus Pro win. I see a Vitality win. I don't see an NIP win. No fucking way. Not gonna happen. But however it goes, maybe a Nico MVP, first one for this year. Zaiwu MVP, first one for this year. Jame MVP also would be a first one for this year. But even though it could be Yakin, there could be anyone from those teams. But these are the kind of the obvious picks.
Yeah.
So, well, it's not going to be anybody else from Vitality. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, unfortunately, not going to happen.
But okay.
Yes. Yeah, go for it, Striker.
No, I don't know if we wanted to ask for us to put our money on somebody. I was going to go with Vitality, just not to go with the obvious Virtus Pro one, because I think Virtus.pro is the team who should win, right? Like they're the
Sure.
only they're the
With
one
the
team.
circumstances.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like they're the one team who has the most to lose essentially, and that this is kind of their event to lose in a sense because of that. But at the same time, like Vitality have been showing way too high of a level for me not to believe that they will beat Virtus.pro and whoever they meet in the final. So I would actually go with Vitality on this because I think it's going to be one of those two for
Yeah,
sure. Whoever wins the semifinal, I think wins the event.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think, as much as I said, like this is G2's best chance to win an event this year and whatever. I think it's still going to come from the bottom side of the bracket because I think that's way stronger than G2 are in IP.
I think it's I look at the map pool matchup here. Obviously, we lose Nuke and we lose Ancient, but like Dust 2 is a strong map for both teams, right? Maybe we have that as a third. I don't know where like the Punishers are. Like maybe Vitality tries to pick him with Mirage or something because I didn't love VP's Mirage the other day. Got Overpass there that maybe VP want to go with. They're always got the strong Buster lurk.
Hey, did we know this? I have this from, I don't even remember who told me this. Shox is doing pistols for Vitality and has been for a long time.
Oh,
like he's the one in charge of pistols apparently.
I didn't know
I've been told
that.
this. I didn't actually check with the team yet because I heard this pretty recently. But I wanted to ask about this from the team about this because apparently, what? Sorry,
not familiar with this.
Yeah, I just remember talking to somebody. Was it a Blast or was it at the major even? Yeah, I just
maybe
someone said in chat. Apex said it. Apex said that on Confirmed. So maybe
did he say that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe he did.
In some interview.
Maybe we kind of like glossed over it. But I heard it very recently, like a couple of weeks ago or something like that, a few weeks ago. So I was just curious if this was like public information that I just somehow completely missed and just like heard for the first time last month.
Now.
But yeah, apparently. I mean, I'm just saying what people told me. I didn't actually confirm this with the team themselves. So like it's kind of like half confirmed.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Do we have anything we want to say about VP with Flit? To me, they look more aggressive.
They just have much more of a balance, right? Like it's not just the Akindar just running around and doing things, right? Like we have Flit kind of like lurking and just like trying to open things up from another side. Like there's just way more opportunities for the rest of the team to kind of get advantage of, and they just have a lot more to play with.
I mean, that Gambit game, you're casting it with the machine. You're setting it up like, you're going to expect a lot of slow rounds. And it's Dust T side. They just rush through mid, down to the doors, like instantly. It was
great.
Like, okay. The first 5-6 rounds were like all super fast. So that's a thing that when we had Yakinder on the show, is like the way we played up till now was for the team that we had up till now. Now we have a new team. Now we need to figure out what works for the players that we have. And it kind of makes sense to play more of this like more loose, more aggressive style when you have these players that everyone can frag. Like just individually, they're a super, super sick individual roster. So
Play has been playing amazing too. That's a big part of it too. Like I think everything's kind of coming together for them. I feel like because they just have all three of the key players delivering, right? Like you have James on his like usual level, you have Flit, and you have Yakindar, just like all of them on a really high level. So I think, yeah, I'd probably say that they would win the event if it wasn't for
Vitality.
If it wasn't for Vitality.
Yeah. Okay. We happy to jump into the playtime now, boys?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go to the playtime. Roll the bumper, Lucas, and we'll get into some of these fun games. We're back. Everybody's favorite little bumper right there, the playtime bumper.
Can't hear us. Yeah.
What happened?
I clicked a wrong button and nobody could hear anything.
That's all right. We were talking about how you disconnected from TeamSpeak and how that nobody could hear us, but you can hear us now, right? Everyone can hear us.
Yeah.
Okay. Lucas, let's get into these games. Let's do. Should we do the quiz first?
Let's do the quiz. Yeah.
Okay, do the quiz, Lucas.
No, actually, let's do the
matchmaker.
The matchmaker, yeah, because it's connected to Teams, and then we can do the quiz.
Okay, let's do the matchmaker. Okay. Lucas, send me the link over onto. Or actually, Prof, do you have the link?
No, I don't have
the clicking. All right, send me the link on Discord or Rooney.
I can do the clicking though.
Yeah.
If you want.
Do we all do it together again, or
yeah? Well, let's do it together.
I need it on. Excuse me, Lucas. I need it on disc. There it is. All right. I got it. All right. Today we're looking at, here we go. We're looking at a bunch of different teams, and as the teams are listed, one more time, this is the Paramatch Matchmaker.
You linked the wrong thing.
It's all right. We can make this work. G2, FaZe, NIP, Heroic, Gambit, Astralis, OG, and Liquid are the names, and the descriptive terminology is number 1, challenger, top 5 in 2022, more changes, stick together, blow it up, or overrated. So let's start with the top of the list here. G2, does anybody want to take the Gamers 2?
Blow it up.
Blow it up?
Blow it up.
Blow it up.
Why would you blow up G2?
I'm going to go... I think they would be the number 1 challenger with what we know right now. The NAVI. If they make roster
G2?
changes, it has to only make the team
Okay.
better, right? Unless they...
I feel like
Depends on
that.
what they get though.
Yeah, we don't know what they're getting. I think for now, we don't have Vitality on the list. For me, Vitality would be potentially a number 1
Yeah.
challenger. They could be trash, not trash, but like they could not be even close. But the new team that they have would be out of these teams.
You say Vitality?
Yeah, the new Vitality.
Vitality's not on the list.
No,
yeah, but it's not on the list. Even though I made the list, I didn't.
So how
big
there
oversight.
isn't Vitality.
I guess G2 we can put as number 1 challenger.
We can
even
put
though it could
Gambit
be.
or
you
Heroic
can do,
would be the
you
other
can
two.
do both the blow it up and number 1 challenger because they're blow it up.
You happy with number 1 challenger?
Yeah, I mean, I think
That's-
out of these,
okay.
what is it, 2, 4, 6, 8 teams? Yeah, I think G2 might be the one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's a safe
Okay.
one.
Okay, let's just go off like Striker. You take the next one, and let's just roll like that.
All right. Let's
Okay.
zing it.
FaZe.
I can do FaZe, I guess. I'm just looking through. I mean, they're not even overrated, are they? Because it's just that they're at this point they're just in this weird spot where they should be better than they are, but they're not. You know, so like everybody thinks that they are good, but they're not at the level that everybody's expecting them to be. So it's if anything, yeah, whatever. They're just not overrated, right? It doesn't really fit for them. I mean,
Make
there's this
changes?
whole there's this whole like Rops. Like if they get Rops instead of Olaf, like that is a really hard team to argue with. Like that's a really fucking stacked roster. So I'm gonna say
So-
with more changes.
More changes, yeah.
Okay. That's solid. NIP.
NIP. You're taking it?
I'll
Do you
be
want to
nice.
click?
Yeah, I'll be
Who's gonna
nice to
click?
them. I'll be nice to them. They can stick together for now. I'll give them a little bit more time. A little bit more time. They can have a little bit more time. I feel we could go a lot of different ways with this here, but let's stick with that. I'll click
Can you
the more
click
changes as
the-
well. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
Click
there it is.
everything, please.
Give us Heroic here. Rob?
Heroic, top 5 in 2022.
That's a safe one. All right. Yeah.
Actually,
Oh.
are they gonna be?
Overrated.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
Actually, are they gonna be? If you look at NIP, not NIP. What am I talking about? NIP. Forget about NIP. Didn't say anything. Navi,
Mhm.
G2,
Mhm.
Vitality,
You're assuming
Potentially
yeah, okay.
FaZe.
Some
Gambit.
big assumptions here. Yeah.
FaZe.
I don't know. I think I don't have a good. I say stick together. Let's say stick together. But I think I don't know if they're going to be top 5 next year. I feel like they need either individuals to level up, like career-wise peaks,
Mhm.
or they just won't be top 5. I don't even
So they're
think
overrated then.
they need to make a change, or like the roster makes sense, but I feel like next year is going to be more competitive, and if they don't like step up and they don't feel more comfortable on LAN and all of this shit, I think it's going to be hard for them to be a top 5 team.
Okay. So overrated.
No, I think let's just go for stick together,
Okay.
because I don't see a reason to change, and I don't see a meaningful change that they can make right now.
Okay. Striker Gambit.
I think that's top 5 in 2022. I think they're just a solid roster that I think will keep being consistently like decent, you know, like good enough to go for like long runs, but maybe not like win every event and stuff like that. I think they're gonna stay at around this level until they find a way to break back into the top, right? So I think top 5 in 2022.
Astralis here, I've got 2 things in mind. I've got blow it up or I've got more changes, but I think both of them for like similar reasons. I think that in like 3 to 4 months time, they're going to have some issues. So like, I would just prefer them to look themselves in the mirror right now and understand those issues and change now. So let's go with more changes, just because I think in the next couple of months, maybe that is what we see, regardless of what the org is trying to tell us. Prof, OG,
Blow it up, man.
blow it up.
It's done. It's 2
Kablamo.
years, 0 tournaments, never been top 5, I think, top 6 peak. It's not perform. They're not a big spending org. It doesn't seem like they like spent a shit ton on like buyouts, maybe on salaries on some players. So respectful results overall, but it just seems like a dead end right now for me.
All right. And finally, Liquid. Micah?
Top 5?
I don't even know.
Do you think the new lineup that's rumored is going to be top 5?
So the new lineup rumor is Leash, Nav, Nitro, Shocks, and oSee, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know how people feel about it. Like if I would put them as overrated or not, because I just don't know where people rate them rate that lineup, because I've seen kind of like both sides of the spectrum. Like I've seen people who say, oh, that looks like a pretty sick lineup, like that could work, and I've seen people who say, yeah, there's just something missing, right? Like something not really meshing together. If I was talking about like the Shocks Nav. So like if people thought they were sick, I would probably say overrated, but I think they're just going to be a solid team that's just not going to get a lot of titles, you know, that like could go on a lot of deep runs, but not like challenging some of these teams that we expect to be like the best next year, you know, like a NAVI, like potentially FaZe if they get ROPS, like the new G2, like some of these teams. I think they're going to stay like around the top 10 level, and with a decent chance to maybe go far, like every other event or so. So I don't even nothing fucking not stick together, because I'm just like counting on the so I guess more changes, right? Because like they are going to make more changes.
Okay, well, more changes it is, and there you have it. That is the Parimatch Matchmaker game for what's the date? The 6th of the 12th, 2021. That's 11 o'clock at night. Jesus, sorry everybody. Let's jump into the Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire. We'll do back-to-back little bonanzas of games right now, and this is the quiz at home with Bitskins, where you can win a skin. We have a quiz. Prof, who's doing the quiz?
I think you should do it. I think we reused some stuff from the one that was supposed to happen with Kerrigan. I think Striker knows some answers, even though I'm not sure. So
okay,
you do it. Maybe Striker reads the questions.
All right, you down for this, Striker?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Give you some tips.
Striker's just lagged. He's frozen for me.
Hello?
He's just he's a still image.
I closed the thing because I closed like
see,
the
we're
wrong,
all close.
the wrong
it's getting
tab.
late. It's getting late. It's getting late. But
I'll get back in a second.
I'll present this for everybody at home. We are doing the Bitskins Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire challenge. If you would like to win the skin, type Bitskins in the chat without an exclamation point. No exclamation point required. Actually, let me tell you this. If you do the exclamation point, it voids your entry. So just type Bitskins without the exclamation point, or you cannot win one of these tiers of skins that are on your screen. We got a 50-cent skin, $2.50, $7.50, $15, and $50. Each question I get right will move us up a tier. Let's kick it off. Question number 1, Striker, bring it to us.
Okay, I don't see it. Okay. What team is ranked the lowest at the moment? A, Astralis, B, Heroic, C, Copenhagen Flames.
Back. Astralis?
I don't know. Is it Astralis?
Locking it in. Answered A. The reveal. Fucking Copenhagen Flames. See, I don't really care about the people.
Not that far off from each other,
they
right?
win. Oh, they're going to hate me. All the fans are going to hate me. All right.
Good that we're not doing this in the Royal
2.
Arena.
Let's go.
You definitely get booed. You definitely get booed.
There'll be lots of boos around right now.
Okay, question 2. Which player doesn't have a top 20 medal? Bolts, Apex, or Skadoodle? This is actually pretty hard, honestly.
This is hard.
I mean, not for me, but like for a player.
Give us some logic, Sponge. Give us your thinking.
I think it's Bolts, because he was never like a star player. Like whereas Skadoodle, Apex in the early days, definitely Skadoodle as well was a banger on the. He was an AWPer. I feel like it has to be Bolts.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna
actually. This is actually definitely wrong. I'm just saying this. This definitely
Bolts is wrong.
No, like everything is wrong. All
Oh,
of them have a top 20.
so I get it right no matter what I pick. Yes. Okay, I'm not going to pick anything. But what was the answer?
No, it's supposed to be
No, they
Apex,
all-
but I think it was
I
supposed to
swear
be
I-
like MVP or something. But
Okay.
somewhere along the lines, it got fucked up. That's all
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay, they all have it. Actually,
Yeah.
Nice.
I
That's
thought
why-
Skadoodle didn't, but he was 20th. In
That's why it
2015.
was so hard. It was
Yeah, okay.
actually
Okay.
because it was incorrect.
Okay. All right. I got baited in there. Where did Bolts come when he won it though? He must have
It was
been
like 17 or ish, like somewhere bottom end.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was
alright.
the
2016 was it? No.
Sorry,
I don't know.
Bolts. All right,
Immortals got.
Question 3.
Okay, one of these players stood in for NIP in CSGO. Who? JW Simple Cold Zero. Okay, he already locked it in. Simple. It is Simple. I saw it on Twitter like today or some shit.
The weirdest thing, like we prepared this question like 10 days ago, and then it was on Reddit. It was like, what the fuck is going on? Who is stealing my questions?
Badum. All right. There was that two right so far.
Okay, question number 4.
Here we go.
All right. Which team didn't manage to qualify for EPL S15 through conference?
Renegades.
A. X Results. B. Movistar Riders. Through C. Renegades.
Renegades had a bit of a stinker. They went out in the same position as Order. So the only team to qualify from Australia for season 15 of EPL is LFO with APOC, who has been playing Counter-Strike for even longer than me. Shout out to Mike. He's got Savage in the team. Who else is in that squad? Yeah, a bunch of names out there. Anyway, I smashed that one. One more.
All right. Question number 5. Who is the highest rated Danish player in 2021? 50 plus maps against all opponents. A. Roy. B. Blame F. C. Stone.
This is HLTV rating we were talking about.
Against all opponents. Roy then. Already got fucked once with the Copenhagen Flames one. Flame Complexity was in a rough spot, and they were doing a lot of losing. Down, he's had a lot of good teammates around him. He's only started to like flourish as looking like the star recently. So I don't know.
This
I
is
don't know.
bait. This is. I feel like this is like double bait. Like I would also say Roy, but I think it's like a double whammy. You know, I don't know.
Go for a gut sponge.
Stop.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Striker.
Sorry, bro. I mean, I actually would have like my second choice would have been Blame F. Actually.
Y'all.
Okay.
Y'all fucked
Sorry,
up.
everybody. I only managed to unlock the 3rd tier of the Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire Bitskins challenge. And can you guys read out what name Lucas posted in the chat as the winner?
Grizzly_MTR.
I'm sorry, Grizzly. This is the best I could do for you, mate. But I hope that this is something that you can work with. So Grizzly_MTR. You've won, but you haven't won all the goodies right there. So you've been. Oh, he's been followed since 2019. That's nice. He's been a supporter of the show for
OG.
some time. So thanks, Grizzly. I apologize once more. I'll do better. I'll see if I can do
We
better
have some
next time.
questions.
Do
we
we?
have 10 questions. We need to answer all of them as we promised.
Nice. Here we go.
Okay, we'll do them quick fire style. We'll just
Yes,
do one each. We'll start
One
with
each.
Sponge, Striker, then me, and let's go. Let's see if this is discuss the rumor that G2 is left as an Alexi B that we have. Okay, minus Lucky plus Valde if Glaive want to keep the op. Sponge, what do you think? That's not a question, but doesn't matter.
I think that they need a star AWP just because of what Glaver said before. So I think that he probably legitimately thinks that. And I think if you want to be a top tier team in the current meta, the AWP is the most sought after role and is the star role. So you need somebody who can be solid in that. So I think I can understand why you'd want to add Volda to Astralis. He's a solid player, and he was the man that should have gone there if they ever needed a player a couple years ago. But now I think that they need to prioritize an AWP player.
Yeah, I mean he's a Zipnex replacement or whatever.
But Zip's there for a couple years now. So
yeah. Here we go for Striker. Thoughts on current CT sided results? Did everyone's T side get weaker, or did the A1S buff really change the meta that much? And there is another thing that people asked was about, oh, is it all of these dead teams? Why, or the reason why people have worse T sides?
No, I don't think it's all of that teams. I don't think. Yeah, I think it's just the the M4, honestly, because I haven't seen people really change their approach. Overall, I just think, city sides are just way stronger compared to before, just because of the A1S. It's just also like the lack of like I've seen so many situations where like people just don't know where they're being shot from because of there being so many silencers. Like there's just like 3 different crossfires and you have no idea where you're being shot from. And you're just like looking around and you just don't have that half a second, where you should be able to tell, but you just don't. So I think that's a big part of it.
Okay, says Bart asks, what are your guys' thoughts of ex-CSGO pros coming back from the Valorant spell? You think they left CSGO because of the money, more opportunities, better game, etc.? And why do you think we already see them returning? I think this is, by the way, if someone wants to like add in after someone answers a question, that's also up to grabs. It is allowed. We're allowing that.
Nice.
I think the one of the main reasons is like the major and people actually seeing like arena events and all of these things, which kicked in this just feeling of nostalgia for players. A lot of people left because at the time it was very stale. Corona, we didn't know what's going to happen. CS is dying, the forest is leaving, and whatever. So I feel like some players, especially those that didn't find a lot of success in Valorant, or that were very successful in CS and are not successful in Valorant, are going to be more attracted to come back than, let's say, a person that never did anything in CS and left, right? And they are now almost a Valorant native almost. So I think some will come back. I think there is, while we were on the show, Automatic tweeted like, I'm looking forward to playing with Steel, who was signed for T1 in Valorant. So yeah, that's I think some will come back, maybe not as many as we think right now. Okay.
Yeah. How about that?
At Sponge, during most of his interviews, Simple talks about how Navi as an org is the best organization ever. What does an org do and provide for their players, and can it affect the performance of players in game?
So something that people need to consider here is Simple looks at Navi with rose-colored glasses because it's from his region. So the fact that he has Navi on such a high pedestal is because when he was growing up as a kid playing Counter-Strike, Navi was the team, back with Zeus, Senya, Starix, Edward, and Markelov. And to him, he idolizes, or I would assume, I don't want to put words in his mouth, I would assume that he idolizes what they achieved. So that organization holds a very special place for him. But on the other side of things, if you were Navi and you had Simple in your team, you would treat him like a god, right? You would do whatever you can to make sure that this guy's happy, make sure you facilitate everything you can while upping him and his personality and his sponsored deals and all those things. Look after him, look after his family, make sure that everything in Simple's life is as good as it can be. So the greatest player to ever touch Counter-Strike is very content. So when he says those things, it's coming from those two angles. It's likely tainted, but I'm sure that over there, right? I don't know what it's like to be a part of Navi. They seem like they're a very big family, right? You see them traveling to these events. They seem to have 15, 16 people with them. In terms of the region that they're in right now, they are the powerhouse. So I think that it comes from that perspective, right? He seems loyal, Simple to this team as well. So I think it's a good give and take. But in terms of what they do, right, you think about how this organization has been a pivotal part of his growth as a human being. So there's a lot of factors that you have to consider like that, helping him become the best version of himself. And I know that sounds like a pretty wanky thing to say, but legitimately, I believe that is what they've helped contribute to. So yeah, there you go.
Was this question for? Is it me? No?
Me, I think.
It's for Striker. Has the game become too professional in a way? I know that I'm not alone in saying this, but I miss the days of trash talking and open space LAN setups. Or am I just wearing nostalgia goggles?
I mean, it would be a bit naive to expect it in these days, just because of how much money is involved and how much like partnerships rely on like kind of public relations and stuff like that, and just like looking good in front of the fans. And I was just mentioning this just when we were talking about an IP, right? Like there's just like that constant kind of like battle where you don't want to put too much pressure on your players, but you also don't want your partners to look to, or like to show your partners that your team is shit, right? Or like in a shit spot. You just want to always bring out the positivity and stuff like that. And that also goes along with the professionalism, which, like I said, I'd rather if everybody was being at least a little bit more honest. I'm not saying say everything about what's going on with your team, but at least, when your team is dead, vitality, then maybe you should say it, right? Like, you don't let your team try to act like nothing's going on, when even though even they've kind of gone and pretty much confirmed all the rumors by what they've been saying in their interviews and stuff like that. In terms of trash talk and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, we're never going to be in an MMA style or whatever, where people are going to be just going at each other all the time. I think people are just going to be too afraid of public backlash in terms of that. There's always going to be some players who don't give a shit, but most of them were just going to stay on a certain level where they know what they can do and what they can't do, you know?
I just want to build on this. I think that's something that could happen in the future. We're yet to see it happen, but an individual with a personality strong enough and a skin thick enough and not afraid of community backlash to embrace being a heel, he would have to do that with the support of his organization or his team to do that, though. And I think that's yet to come. I think we could have somebody who comes out who's a really good player who doesn't have to be Mr. Nice Guy, could embrace being the heel, could go out there and say, fuck these, and actually take that. Like, if you look at MMA as an example, I think, is it Colby Covington? I don't know. I'm probably referencing the wrong person here. I shouldn't do that. Even though Pasha's getting into the fighting scene now. But I think that in the future we could see that, and that is even still with their professional structure. So maybe it's something
A question for me: what tier 2 team do you see breaking into tier 1 in 2022? And this is like a giga super hard question, because even the tier 1 teams that we know are going to be changing a lot, and some of them maybe fall off. Who the fuck could go into from tier 2 into tier 1? It's like,
you could maybe make a case for GODSENT if you want to consider them a tier 2 team.
Yeah,
that's like a
potentially
Hoid.
Potentially like an Extra Salt, Mad Lions. Like, I don't think a team will make that jump. And maybe this is just like, oh, let's just pick the top teams. They're going to be the top teams. But
yeah,
I think even with Gambit and Heroic that we had over the last year was helped by the online season that we had. And with less and less spots being available for teams outside of the partnerships of Blast and ESL, it's going to be super hard for someone to break through. Like, even Mouse, fnatic, Big, these are 16, 17, 18 in the world. These are partner teams, right? So Mouse will probably rebuild and have a different lineup next year, but what's going to happen there, I don't know. I feel it's very, very hard to see a team like even like Eternal Fire, who have like good players and now are playing kind of okay, to make anything happen. Maybe
if we're talking trajectory, then like Mad Lions was a good shout, I think.
Maybe Double Pony pick up, like maybe Misuta gets kicked and they pick him up and then they get signed, and this becomes the next French thing with like Amanek as well, and then it's like an amazing team that breaks through. But other than that, I have no idea. Okay, next one is for Chad.
Yes.
Why Australia participates in Eurovision?
I don't know. It is very weird. It's a very weird concept to have us participating in Eurovision.
We demand an explanation right now here on the show.
I guess if we want to try and build a bit of a narrative here, we are a bit of a cultural mixing pot in Australia, and we have a lot of different ethnicities in our country from all over the globe. So Europe accepts our diversity, and we bring what we have to offer. Or you could go the convict route that, where when we were founded, it was by the Brits, and they used to be part of the EU up until very recently. Or I think we could go even before that. I think it was who discovered us before the Brits? Some motherfuckers on a boat, and they were European. So I'm sure
the Dutch, probably.
Yeah, the Dutch. It was the Dutch. Those crafty little Dutchmen.
Serious question. Who will take over as coach at NIP? Do you think Devillock could do it?
One.
Or is it one of these players like Golden, maybe? Jonas.
I mean, as far as okay, nothing.
You can't say something. He said
too much.
I think I might have said too much.
He said too much.
I mean, I think people will see it eventually. So
flusha.
No, I don't mean the actual coach that they'll get in the meantime. But I think Jonas will take over, like in some of these events.
Oh, That's
legendary.
exciting.
Yeah.
I'm
before
excited to see
they
that.
get the
Okay,
whatever
all
new
right,
codes they're
all right.
getting.
Yeah,
right?
I got
So-
no idea. We could throw Swedish names at the wall and see which one sticks.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I don't know.
I guess like Golden
Hunden?
is like a shot. Yeah, I'm curious about that because like it's
That
really
laugh
hard.
was like, wait, hold up.
Yeah, definitely not.
No.
No. Yeah, I mean, like outside of like the obvious names like Devilwalk and Golden, I just don't know who else would even be like up for that job. You know, who's Swedish and be up for that job. Maybe they get another Dane, just make it 3-3.
Golden's not a bad shout.
Exist.
Golden's not a bad shout, is he?
I think Golden could actually be a good fit,
I
honestly.
guess it could be. Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
That's
I don't
it.
know. Yeah, that's it.
Sponge favorite food?
Snickers bars. No, I don't know. I don't really have a favorite food. I'm a 32-year-old man. It's not, you don't really categorize. I don't go.
That goes to esports events. You just eat whatever is available.
Yeah, I am going to get into the kitchen once I get home next week. But other than that, don't really have a favorite food.
I'm sad. Nobody sent me any questions.
We can ask you a question, Lucas.
No, because it's not from the fans, you know.
Maybe we're your biggest fan.
Oh, that's
we
so sweet.
could do. We got to. I think I have an idea for a sponsor segment in the future. Because what we could do, everybody, we could make it Prof's mailbag, right? So the questions go to Prof every time. I don't know how we'd get it sponsored, but we could do we could do a Prof's mailbag. We got like Prof as like someone makes like a picture of Prof holding like a big bag. It's full of mail. It's frothing over the top with letters, and then you guys can send things to Prof, and maybe you guys draw like a picture of everybody, and Prof can go, "Hey guys, we had Sammy 24369 from Canada send us a love," and then we could do that, and we can have some fun questions, and it can be like Prof's whole thing. How do you feel about that, Prof? Would you like that?
I'd do that. I'd vibe with that definitely.
Just like random shit sent to his place.
Yeah, well, actual things.
I could rent a PO box, so
We
it
get a
doesn't
PO box
actually
going.
go to my address.
You get some dildos to high five in your house. Why not? Get the ones that are suction cuppy. You can have them on the walls as you walk.
Implication: I don't already have dildos.
All right. What do we got here on the way out the door, guys? Are we happy? We done? It's almost a 3.5-hour show.
Like we push it every time, but like every time we just go further and further. Eventually, we're gonna get to a 4-hour show.
Well, this is a
We've
good
never
one.
done that before.
We made up for last week.
Sponsored by DHL.
Sponsored by THL.
The mailbags.
There you go.
You already have contacts.
You even did a
over
fucking
there.
ad for them. Easy.
Yeah, I did too.
Easy.
We'll get them on the phone. I don't know if they
too.
do small sponsorships, but maybe.
What do you mean small? How? No way.
Yeah. All right. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Lucas, you didn't get a question. Maybe we'll see if we can have a question for you next week. There's
nobody sent any questions for Lucas.
Yeah.
Anything you want to know about Lucas?
Anything at all? Lucas, do you want people to ask a certain type of question?
Nah, I can do everything.
Okay, you can do everything, guys. He's flexible. All right. Do you want to sign us off tonight, Prof?
Not really.
Striker?
No, I'm good.
Okay, here we go, guys. So you
sign us off, Lucas.
You didn't send me any questions at all, but it's okay. I'm not mad. There's been some technical difficulties. It's okay. I got through it. I'm not fired. We love you all.
Yes.
This has been episode 66 of HLTV Confirmed.
Sponsors.
Shout out to Xtrfy. They make amazing gear. Go check them out. Party
New
match.
wireless mouse.
Yeah, they have a new wireless mouse. Party match. Gamble responsibly. Bitskins. I once bought a Dragon Lore from Bitskins. It was amazing. You can also do it
for Martin.
No, it was for myself with my mom's credit card.
Don't use your mom's.
Don't do that. Displate amazing metallic posters. Go check them out. They always have discount codes on their website. That's
fantastic. That's it. Good night. Amazing sign off there, Lucas. Good stuff. Good night, everybody. See you next time.
Good night.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their fourth generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets guaranteed.
Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Parimatch, your esports teammate. Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.
The nice thing about displays are super high quality and very easy to hang up. All you have to do is mount the magnet they provide you, then just stick the poster on the wall. Every art piece they offer is super collectible and looks great no matter where you place it in your house or room. Another wonderful thing about Displate is they also look after the environment. Every poster someone buys, Displate will plant one tree. They've already planted over 14 million trees and they're still planting. So you're not just getting an awesome poster, you're also helping the environment.